Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. This episode, we're going to be covering one of the most, I think, one of the most important stories to come out of Spider-Girl. And so we're going to be talking about the story called, one of Kelly's favorites, called Marked for Death. But first, before we get started, I do want to thank our patrons, Scott, Vinkman, Yargen, and Greg. Thank you for being our Patreon subscribers, and welcome Yargen as our latest Patreon. If you want to join in on the fun, go to patreon.com/SpideyDudeNetwork. As usual, a bit of a disclaimer: these episodes are live streamed on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and we take live comments and acknowledge them live. If you want to join in on the fun, join our social medias to stay up to date, or stay up to date at spidey-dude.com/events. And so, without further ado, let's get started. I'm Zach Joyner, and I'm joined by Kelly.
Hello, we are back.
Finally, it has been. It has been a crucible. It's like
someone had to buy a house, guys.
I just now got the keys yesterday. It took that long. It was like I packed my entire world into a U-Haul that wasn't up here in Nebraska, moved it all the way down to Houston, and then we get told, oh, it takes 5 days for the payment to process. Mm-hmm. And so then I had to unpack the U-Haul by myself into a U-Haul storage building on the 3rd floor. So dressers and beds and stuff like that. And do not recommend. 0 out of 10. Don't do that if you can avoid that as all possible. But yeah, so I moved, and then Kelly got crazy busy this last week, and so it just
work because when you're free for so long on a Thursday, they just assume things.
Now
we actually not to get into it, but we had a very abnormal week in the training center, so things needed to happen to make other things happen.
Old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. So once again, I am broadcasting from the lovely cave that has nothing cool on the walls, but there will be a new office coming soon, hopefully.
Your walls are white, at least. You don't live in the darkness. I do have cool artwork.
You have cool stuff in the background, though. So all my cool stuff's in Houston. So yeah, so it's a very exciting time for me. I talked a little bit about this on Spidey Dude Experience, but yeah, so that's what's going on. Yeah, so brand new episode. We're covering the rest of this volume 11 of the digests marked for death.
We're almost finishing up those digests.
Yeah, it'll be a couple episodes, I think, right? Yeah. So we'll cover the next one. For the next one next time. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, so we don't have any emails though, do we?
I did not see any emails. So if someone emailed us sometime today or yesterday, like late yesterday, we'll just talk about it next episode.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say you'll miss the cutoff for this episode, but I just didn't check it today.
So. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
like I said, a lot going on, guys.
we got a lot of plates we're spinning right now.
Life.
So,
yeah,
life. What is life? MakeMyMayday@gmail.com. You can always email that, or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. If you want to be a part of the program as well, you can leave a voicemail 818-925-6631. And so that's and we'll have the audio. I'm going to be working on the audio tomorrow, so all the previous 2 episodes that we've done will be out and ready to go next week. Fingers crossed, barring anything unforeseen.
Yep.
Because yeah, so I'm going to try to catch that and Spidey Dude Experience both back up and good to go. So awesome. Yeah. And of course you can always go to places like r/SpiderGirl to get all your Spider-Girl stuff. And so
of course,
gotta say hi to some people right quick. Vinkman says hello, hello, hello. It's been a while, but you're back with style. Well, I like the rhyme scheme. Poor Ryan. He's gonna watch the playback later. You can always watch. Yeah, you can always watch it later. I love Kelly's attire for this episode. Minkman says.
I had made a joke on Twitter that I was going to wear a particular outfit from a particular issue. And I chose against it, and then I could not find the shirt I wanted. But I think that this is a good alternative. But there's a reason I am wearing my beanie. The glasses are just I forgot to, because we live in a COVID time, and I did not go to the optometrist to get new contacts, so I'm in my glasses until my contacts come in. Yay, but that's okay.
If you're following along, you'll understand why she's wearing the beanie.
Yeah,
Just saying.
you're following along, so we will find that out. The glasses are not a part of the look. That's just
yeah. She has to see.
Well,
guys.
I can't really do this blind, unfortunately. So
because we try to have notes and things like that.
Yeah, because I try to keep us on track. So, like, speaking of that, I do have in our little housekeeping notes, which I don't think we have any corrections or internal news we need to talk about. But I did want to go ahead and just state, since we did have this unexpected break,
right?
That September 23rd and September 30th, I will not be recording. And this goes for all of my shows. So no crawl space at all for those basically those last 2 weekends of September, and our last weekend, I think it's last weekend of September, first weekend of October. That is because, one, that is my like actual vacation that work has told me I have to take.
They finally
this has been discussed. Yeah, well, they're like, you put in, right? And I was like, yeah, like March. So they were just like, yeah, you have to take that. And I'm like, duh. So that's being taken. And just because the weekend before, I've got a lot of stuff to plan to actually go on a trip, hopefully, this Delta virus pending.
Yeah.
What it does to my plans. But basically, as long as things are okay, I need that weekend before, and I will not be in front of my laptop the weekend after. So kind of can't record, but
yeah, we'll be
we'll pick it back up. Yeah,
like I say, follow us on our social medias. And once we get kind of things get settled, and because work and stuff with both of us, it's crazy right now. That's going to be the best way to keep up with the shows. Also, like, share, and subscribe. We just got to 100 subscribers on YouTube, so you can always go use the URL Spidey Dude Radio Net, youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network, all one word. And that is one of the easiest ways. Of course, you can also follow us on Facebook as well, and Twitter. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are the best places to find out when we're going to be recording next, because we try to promote at least a few days out, if not longer. But usually we try to go and let everybody know.
Things have been a little hectic lately, but we'll get back in the swing of things as things calm down. Hopefully,
right? Yeah.
Hopefully things have calmed down on your end. I'm hoping things slightly work-wise they won't calm down, but it'll be all right. We'll make it work.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it, keep on keeping on, keep on chugging along. The fact that we've made it we're at 61 right now. We've gotten 3 times as long as other Spider-Girl shows have made it. So we've done a really good job especially with season 1. Just season 2 is kind of starting off a little stumbly, but we're going to get back to kicking butt and taking names, just like Mayday does in this story.
So
without further ado,
oh
wait, there is news.
You are all over the place. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
This is why I wrote these. This is why we're keeping ourselves on track. So we just finished housekeeping, and now we're on to Spider-Girl news, which, do you have the links up?
I can get the links.
Go get the links. Because there is a Funko Pop that you guys need to pre-order. We need to pre-order multiple of them. But Pop in a Box has an exclusive Spider-Girl Funko Pop bobblehead awesomeness, and it actually looks really, really amazing. They have an April variant that in 1 in 6 orders will get the April variant. It's not, to me, really April because she has certain differences even in her
Come
blue
on.
suit.
Sorry, internet's
You're
not
fine.
wanting to work.
You're fine.
There
Yeah,
it is.
right there.
Right there,
She's
right there at the top of the page.
yes. So, yeah, so you guys should totally pre-order her.
Yeah, it is $12.99.
I think
Popinthebox.us.
shipping and like if your state has tax like mine does, on all online
Yeah,
purchases, she comes out to basically I think 18 bucks, 18,
yeah.
19 bucks total. So
So that is the April quote unquote
the
variant, but that
April,
is
yeah. And then the one
and
everyone wants, because that's the one thing I've heard is like after everyone got to see both, they're like, yeah, that's not quite April
like
enough for me. We want Spider-Girl, but like, let's be fair, like I have Mayhem over here, and she's cool. Like I wouldn't mind having another April pop, but
yeah.
we want a Mayday pop first, so I'm
We've been
excited.
wanting, yeah, it's a Pop in a Box exclusive.
Well,
Um
so was this one. All of them
yeah.
are. Someone at Pop in a Box is a Spider-Girl fan.
So for Kelly's sake, I'm uncharacteristically keeping my mouth shut about this particular Funko Pop. Fake fun. But okay, so basically,
She's cute.
these,
She doesn't look like a creepy Funko Pop. Like she
yeah,
actually
yeah,
looks like a chibi-esque version of Spider-Girl, which I
I adore.
think is interesting.
I love this. I think it's awesome. My wife was excited because she collects Funkos, so I've already pre-ordered mine. And so I'm very excited about this. We've been keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that there was going to be a Spider Girl,
Well,
last year.
they made the joke when they first came out with Mayhem.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, do you think we need to do her sister?" And was kind of like trolling some fans using Amazing Spider-Girl screenshots from the comics pages. And
Mm,
so we kind of knew that this was in the pipeline. I think COVID delayed it
yeah.
ultimately. But I also think with that delay, because like this looks so much better than Mayhem over here. Like it's dynamic, she's swinging.
Mhm.
I'm sure that the stand I'm hoping is just in the back and not in her butt, like they did with poor Spider-Man. But
Yeah.
we'll see what it is. It's still, to me, that this looks really cool. Like this went beyond what I was expecting them to do. So
Like either way, we were going to buy it, the two of
yeah,
us.
exactly. Oh yeah.
But like this went above and beyond our expectations. So you can go to popinabox.us. It's right there at the top of the page. If you you can become a subscriber, and I think you get some special discounts and stuff
I
like
think
that.
you might be able to get 10% off your, well, no, you can't. On exclusive orders, those coupon codes don't work.
That's
I
right.
will say that much. So because she is an exclusive and it is an exclusive pre-order, you cannot use it. If you do want to wait, however, because I think you can actually use that coupon code now for Mayhem, who is
Right.
still on the website. So, if they sell enough, they might, you might be able to get her that way. I also know a lot of people were like, well, I just want to wait because I don't like the idea of like possibly getting April. You can wait, but it's going to be almost, I think, what it took a year for Mayhem to show up in third-party retailers.
Yeah. So
So you're going to be waiting a while.
right.
So
I asked because my comic shop they do Funkos all the time, and they try to get exclusives when they can.
yeah.
And they told me that usually what happens is they can order from Funko
Mm-hmm.
directly 6 months after. There's like a 6 to 9 month grace period where it's only going to be the exclusive, and then after that, if they've still got stock, then the extra stock at the place that was exclusive at can be sent back to Funko, and then they can pick it up from there.
Yeah, but I don't think Pop in a Box has really sent back Mayhem.
No, they haven't. They haven't sent back Mayhem. So they've had a hard. So they're having to basically buy it at cost.
Well,
And
because that
yeah,
means that Mayhem is actually selling on the website, which is probably
right.
why we got Mayday in the first place. So yay!
I mean,
Like,
yeah, Spider Girl fan. Look, the best thing about it is Spider Girl fans came out in droves and they said, "Hey, we're going to support this," and that's to me that's awesome. I mean, that's just
yeah,
really, even though it's been 10 years since the series ultimately ended, the fact that the fan base is still going out and purchasing things like this is just a
I
testament
mean,
to the
we want more. I actually have a thing about that with one of the issues.
yeah.
In fact, the particular issue that I strategically made us split so I could have it for the breakdown. I'm gonna wait to talk about it. But I actually have just from a line someone said, kind of, I don't know if it was really meant to be that deep, but like in retrospect,
Mm-hmm.
I have a little tidbit about it that I think applies here. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start our episode and start these breakdowns with a little bit of fandom history, Zach.
Yes, yeah. So this is what I usually call what was going on with Marvel at this time, and so we kind of discussed this a little bit last episode. But Mark for Death was an emergency story. You see, issue 59 was released on April 2nd, 2003. The day before, Tom DeFalco got a call telling him that his original script for issue 61 was no longer the final issue and that the title had been extended for at least another 6 months. According to Ron Friends, who clarified it last episode for us, so if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch it. The issue had been plotted and a few pages had been penciled, but the issue hadn't been completely scripted yet, so they weren't as far along on the process. Tom kept thinking, because obviously the day before April 2nd is April 1st, Tom kept thinking it was an April Fool's joke. And there was several phone calls that went back and forth before finally Tom Brevoort had to step in, called and said, "Hey, we need the plot by the following Monday." So Tom and Ron began their work on this, and ultimately that's how the story unfolded. And so issue 61 was originally supposed to, they even had a solicitation with the infamous, her kind of shrugging her shoulders homage to the first appearance. Never got used. Apparently Tom Brevoort still has it in his office framed, the cover copy. And so but yeah, so this issue was released on June 4th, 2003 with a cover date of August. So with that, Kelly's going to break down this issue.
Yes. All right. So we start with Spider-Girl doing what she does best and beating down a few goons before bedtime. Her spider sense tingles like she's in immediate danger, but no one's behind her, no one's around. She can't focus on it for too long, though, as it turns out these goons are attacking Canis because they heard Kingpin kicked his butt. And well, murder just doesn't fly with Mayday, so she has to come in and save the day. Spider-Girl stops his attempted murder and then he gets some intel on how the hit was ordered. I wrote that really weird in my notes. Apparently it was a blind drop client they've never met. So these guys just were like, "Hey, we got a bunch of money and was told to kill you, so here we are." And when Canis threatens to murder them, Spider-Girl has to remind him that, again, no one dies on her watch. So Spider-Girl escorts Canis home, and Canis in return lets her see some very cute wolf cubs and kind of gets all mushy about it. But I'm not forgiving him for killing his pet in the previous issues, so I'm actually really scared for the puppies. Before what happens, because I don't trust him. But anyway, as
Right.
Canis gets mushy for the puppies, Spider-Girl's spider sense goes off and she rushes to save him from danger. His mansion, penthouse, whatever, blows up just as they barely get out. The wolves and the cubs are dead, and Canis knows of only one such person who could have pulled this off. We cut to Rikers, where one of the guards Fisk is paying got him some private gym time, and Dark Devil decides to pop in. Dark Devil warns Fisk of keeping a routine schedule, as it appears a South American gangster is setting sights on Fisk's territory, and he seems to want to clear away any competition before setting up shop. As Fisk is being a bit arrogant, to say the least, and refuses to really take Dark Devil's advice, the room blows up. Uh-oh. So May gets home and plays with Benji a little bit while her parents watch the news about someone bombing Rikers, allegedly targeting Wilson Fisk and putting him in critical condition. The corrupt prison guard tries to blame this on Dark Devil, but Peter and May just don't buy it. Also, with no one seeing him exit, May is worried if Dark Devil even made it out okay. The next day, Courtney is back in school, finally, after months of recovering from being a victim of a pedestrian hit and run from the Faces. And as May notices that JJ and Brad are kind of glaring at each other, so she ducks out and sees that she's also being ignored by Sandra, who, as we know from last episode and the last few issues, is being abused by her boyfriend and has told May to butt out. So, Sandra. So then Nancy.
Oh, Sandra.
Yep. So then Nancy, Davita, and May are heading to class, talking about the team meeting they're having later on today, when May's spider sense goes off again, more intense than last night. Odd, very odd, and really concerning, because it's most definitely she has a stalker, and it's not that guy that left the school.
Right.
So May skips study hall and heads to the website, calling Phil on the way, and Phil advises that there were 5 bombings last night, and the other players in the organized crime game didn't make it. May asks if anyone has been able to get a hold of Dark Devil, and none of the warriors can reach him. May is nervous to go into the website, probably why she walked over instead of swinging, because that would have been a little faster. But as she gets closer, she realizes her spider sense keeps going off every time she tries to approach the website, and it's coming from a different building each time. May jumps to action and quickly changes, making a circle around the neighborhood to find the source of these phantom spider tingles. She jumps in through the bell tower to check in on Normie, who is surprised to see her during school hours, and May notices he's not trying to cover up his tattoos, which slightly takes up her thoughts. And the first side note here that I have to give is, May, maybe he just didn't think he was going to see you during school hours. You did show up unannounced. To me, it didn't seem like he was trying. To me, like, she makes it sound like she thinks this is being done for her, but I don't think it's that deep. don't think it's that deep, bro.
It's like almost as if May is like reading into
She's
things.
reading way into it. Reading way too into it.
That's a common theme.
It is a very common theme. So yeah, I was like, maybe he would cover up his spider hate tattoos if you had given him time to. There's also a lot of different ways that we could take one of her lines, where she's like, is he trying to remind me that he's an Osborn, or is he just hot? And we're gonna take it as it's warm in the website, because all capital letters May. No. So Normie notices May is distracted. And May, in return, asks about Raptor. And Normie says he hasn't been able to see her while she's in this special program that's currently taking up all of her time. Normie asks about the plan on, what's the plan on figuring out what's going on with the gang war. May thought maybe Normie would have a plan, because she's pretty stumped, and along with Phil and the police right now, no one really knows what's going on. May realizes she needs to get back to school, but says she'll be back to brainstorm on how to find Dark Devil. When May gets back to school thinking about how she stumbled over her words in front of Normie. Again, another side note here where she was like, yeah, stumbling over words is not very attractive. I don't know how to make this just friends thing work. Maybe don't focus on the fact that you looked unattractive. Maybe that's the first thing. I don't know.
Poor May.
Just calm down. Calm down. It's fine. Just move on. Move on, girl. So Spider Sense goes off again, and this time May got a glimpse of someone running off, but before she could catch them, Davita busts out of the locker room complaining about Nancy Lou taking her spot on the team. Nancy comes out apologizing and advising that this is just something Coach Thompson was doing for the best of the team, which sets Davita off again, and May has to physically get in between them to try and stop the oncoming fight. They both walk away, and May is torn on who to follow first. Coach Thompson tells May to forget about it, as if they can't work it out between themselves, both of them will be benched, and tells May that she's late for the team meeting. She sits through it and then fails to find Nancy or Davita afterwards, and changes to meet Normie and at the website as promised. She calls Phil for any updates and calls Candace to check in and remind him, that helping her might help keep him safe. She meets up with Normie, and they realize their options to get more information are pretty limited, since they can't really be like Dark Devil and just go bust up a bar at the docks because they're underage. Again, another thing to point out, because I think Frogoat keeps trying to push no, he's like 13. No, he's not. We've established this.
Go back and listen 23. To episode 13.
Yeah. He's at least 20, 22, 23. Yeah. So he's allowed to bust people up in the bar.
However, May is not.
May is not. She's not
because busting up criminals in a bar requires, a proof of identification.
Apparently.
In our headcanon.
It's not even headcanon. This is literally how she's thinking.
I know. It's actual canon. It's not even headcanon. But it's like, May. Oh sweet.
You have a mask on.
Nobody knows how old you are. Come
She's
on,
precious.
girl. Sometimes, May. You are. Anyway.
Sometimes there's book smarts and not necessarily enough street smarts in her, but that's fine because I love her for it anyway. But anyway, so Phil advised that there were some rumors of a guy from South America, but no one knows anything about him or what he wants. May thinks maybe the Kingpin isn't really injured, and maybe this is some kind of ruse, which amuses the word ruse apparently really amuses Normie, and he starts ripping her which finally breaks their tension that they've had these last few issues before they can kind of continue in their friendly camaraderie and teasing. May's spider sense goes off and the website blows up. May was able to literally throw Normie over her shoulders and get him out of the website safely. May starts to freak because only a few people knew about the website, and if this person who bombed the website has been tailing her and can teleport and knows who she is, he could be after her family too. And that is the end for now. So, Zach, I'm going to go ahead and let you start on your thoughts.
What a opening issue. You can't think of a better way to open a story up. It's funny because if you look on Marvel Unlimited, it says it does not have the tagline that was above the title. If you read the actual individual issue, it says the series they couldn't kill was the tagline. And so remember that original solicitation had been out, but it was pulled after, I think, a month. So what a start of the story. This has a great amount of intrigue. Who's the mystery South American guy? Who blew up the website? Who blew up Rikers? Who blew up Candace's home? Like, this is everything you want in a saga.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that 6-part stories at this point were the norm, this felt like more akin to Tom and Ron's like Thor run, where there would be like 6 issue stories, but they didn't have to necessarily put part one of six, you know,
Mhm.
and even earlier issues um even Pat, it was the same way. So yes, it stylistically the aesthetics make you think, oh, this is a 6 part story, but this is a packed issue. You have the issues with school. You have obviously the intrigue of like who's the mystery South American guy. Now, for me, reading this, I'm like, oh, I know who this is, but and we'll get to it when we get to 65 because 65 was actually my first issue collecting um, as a regular reader. So at this point, I was really using like the Spider Girl message board and stuff
Mhm.
like that to kind of stay caught up. But I knew I had to start supporting the series. So for me, I love this. I love this story and I love this issue. Artwork is incredibly dynamic. May feels like she's moving. Not
Mhm.
saying that Pat doesn't do that. Not saying that at all. But this is a much more of the cartoonier style
Yeah,
that
it's
Ron was using at the time.
mhm.
And so, but it made May and the story feel like it's moving.
Yeah. This is I guess to put it in a 2021 perspective, this is what nonstop Spider-Man should have looked like.
Right.
Because this is
Right.
a very action story, intriguing, espionage-esque deal. There's high stakes involved, so it needs to feel dynamic. And here this knocks it out of the park. And this is something that I've stated multiple times. Like, Marked for Death is one of my favorite stories in all of comics. I think if you want to see something that just has the perfect writing, the perfect artwork, where everything just really goes together well and is complementary, Marked for Death. And of course, it's the best example I can give on like why Spider-Girl means so much, because it is such a dynamic, compelling story that really takes you in almost immediately. I don't think you need to really know a whole lot, because they do tend to fall back a little bit on stuff, but like you don't necessarily need to have read every single Spider-Girl issue up to now to start reading this. It's a really good starting point if you haven't been into Spider-Girl yet. Definitely takes you on a ride, on a roller
It
coaster.
it definitely does, and it's still, even though it's part one of six. It's still, every issue still treats it like it's still the first. You still have Tom DeFalco writing this after all, so it's still incredibly approachable
Mhm.
as a story, and so it's very intriguing. Like I say, it just it every and I don't want to try to I don't want to repeat myself by saying this, but I feel like I do it all the time. I mean, our team of Ron and Sal is just perfect. By the way, they are doing a cover for issue 74,
Mhm.
875. So if you can pick that variant cover up,
You
Ron
should go
and
do that.
you should go do that because it's gorgeous. So
If
continue.
you can find it, because I'm sure people have already uh, asked for it to be reserved. So,
Yeah, so my comic shop's really good about getting and ordering specific uh, variants, and
mhm.
they usually always try to pick up the Ron because they know me and you know, I've told them about our relationship that we've had as a website with Ron over the years, and so they're like, "Yeah, we'll definitely pick up all the Rons." I was like,
Mhm.
"Sweet." So
Obviously. Nice.
I keep buying all of them, and my wife's like, "Why do you keep buying them?" I'm like, "Because Ron drew it," and she's like, "Oh, okay." She don't even complain. She like, once she knows it's Ron, she's like, "Oh, okay, fine, that's
Yeah,
good."
of course. All
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I mean, I love this issue. It's just great. So I think we're ready for issue 62. So can I get that info, please? Because
Yes. Yeah. So
we were a little late on finishing our notes. So he has them, but I
this
don't, because I can't use Google Doc. I can't have more than 2 tabs open without my internet messing up when we record.
Pray for
Sorry,
her
guys.
internet, guys.
Yeah.
This was released on June 2nd, 2003. Cover date of September. Kelly, you have the
All right.
breakdown.
So, Every Hand Against Her is the title of this story, this issue. We start exactly where we left off. Normie and May watch the website burn from this bomb fire. Normie asks if May is okay, and all May can think about is how whoever planted this bomb might be the person who's tailing her and could be planning an attack on her parents and brother. Normie tells her to go, and May asks him to call the Green Goblin so she knows that he's protected. As she swings off to Forest Hills, her spider sense goes off again, and as soon as she feels danger, it's gone again, like someone is intentionally messing with her. May's cell phone goes off and scares her because this is how rattled she is by all of this. And she thinks like maybe this is a little ominous, like maybe it's the person tailing her, but no, it's Davida. Davida really needs a friend. She is very angry and upset by what happened with Nancy in the last issue. May talks to her and tries to let Davida vent about this betrayal that Nancy orchestrated. Nancy did not orchestrate this, but all right. But it's a bit May's a bit distracted because again, someone keeps teleporting behind her and setting off her spider sense. May Since May is distracted, Davida gets pissed off and hangs up on her. May thinks about what she needs to do to keep her stalker off her trail and chooses to make her way home a bit more complicated, not realizing the bomb she has set off in her personal life by not listening to her friend. So Normie and Phil are outside of the website talking about how A, Normie is being treated like the suspect of an arson, and B, how funny it was to see the lieutenant was confused when the Green Goblin showed up. They wonder who all has thought that Normie was the new Green Goblin, and if that was a reason for the attack. In the distance, someone in a trench coat is watching the fire being put out. Wonder who that could be. May gets home after doing some casing of the neighborhood to make sure it's safe, and she talks to her dad about everything: the attack on Canis, the bombing of the website, and what happened on her way home. Peter is a bit hung up on how May basically had a bat cave. um,
Peter
but
only dreamed of one, and so therefore Peter's slightly jealous. Let's be
just
real.
slightly, yeah. So Peter calls his contact at Rikers, since May was really getting the feeling that like her spider sense was almost kind of making it feel like, hey, this is Mr. Nobody, but she didn't know. She thought he was in jail, and according to Peter and his contacts at Riker, Mr. Nobody is still there in solitary confinement. So if it can't be May's first suspect, maybe it is Dark Devil. But May tells him that May tells Peter that her spider tingles just don't feel like Dark Devil, and that her spider sense can kind of tell between different threats and different people. As much as that really fascinates Peter, Peter does advise that he'll keep a close eye on MJ and Ben, and he has the perfect plan to keep May distracted and safe in the meantime. Go to school. Very funny. Very appreciative. So Davida is still angry the next day, which my one tangent in here is I do get Davida's anger. Don't get me wrong. Especially when you think back on being a teenage girl. Like Davida basically, got told that the girl she helped put on the team is better than her, and now her best friend is just blowing her off and only has the time for her when she needs something. May is obviously not telling her everything, and it's really alienating. And I do feel for Davida. But the thing that really bugs me about this is the fact that like she really seemed like she only wanted to be friends with Nancy in the first place to get her on the basketball team. So, you know, her reasoning back then was that the team needs the best talent around, right? For them to do their best. Well, she got her wish. Unfortunately, that was going to mean somebody on the starting team was going to have to step down for Nancy. She had to have realized that, and she's mad that it was her. And that's not okay, because that's kind of there's a lot of ego there. So she can't really be she should be happy that Nancy is being seen and recognized after she tried so hard to get Nancy on the basketball team, but she's just mad because she's the one that's having to reap the consequences of that. So I digress. I get it, but at the same time, I'm also like, you kind of get like this is kind of deserving, unfortunately. But I also get where she could be. She is angry because May seems to be downplaying this, and that is kind of insensitive. But we know May has bigger things to stress about, and to May, like this is a tiny thing that's going to blow over. So there is that. Just wanted to throw that out there because I realize people will probably be like, how can you hate Davida? And I'm like, I don't, but I'm very critical of her. So Normie goes to Rikers to visit Brenda and gets turned away for the 4th time now. He asks why and is told Brenda was put in a solitary cell and can't have visitors. A solitary cell, same as Mr. Nobody. So Normie calls Nelson and Associates and asks to speak to Riley Thine, Brenda's attorney. Thine seems to have disappeared and been AWOL in the office lately. Normie, dejected, walks away from Rikers, and someone, 2 people actually, are watching him from a window. Was it Weldon or Whedon? It's Weldon.
Whedon.
Right? Whedon. So Whedon, who we last saw with Brenda, and see, I wrote Mr. Nobody, but I feel like it was just a trench coat, right?
Okay, so the way that it does look like it's silhouette with the trench coat and an armor, making you think it might be Mr. Nobody.
It might be Mr. Nobody. It might be Kane. We don't know, but somebody. Oh,
it's somebody.
Spoiler. So they want Normie. They really seem to want Normie discouraged from pursuing Brenda. Why? And Nancy finds May and explains how she has no clue about, why Coach Thompson she had no clue what was going to happen with the roster and Coach Thompson, and she doesn't want Davida to hate her. May calls Davida over to try and talk, but Davida is still being ice cold. Eep.
The classic icicle thought bubble, or the speech bubbles. Oh, Betty Brant.
Like I said, I totally understand where Davida's coming from, but it's also just like the thing is Davida has the blinders on and doesn't seem to realize that she's coming from a very egotistical place.
Right.
So anyway, so in one of my favorite pages ever, Spider-Girl calls and meets up with Candace to go over possible suspects, and Candace meets up with her. They talk very casually, and then he blows her off, reminds her that they're adversaries and to never contact her again. So May casually strolls over to him, picks him up, puts him over the building ledge, and apologizes for just being so casual about it a few seconds ago and not giving a crime lord of his caliber proper interrogation protocol. So,
yeah. The proper protocol being literally picking him up, but with using her
he asked for it. He did ask for it.
He did. He did.
Yeah. So anyway, Candace points her to Gallery Z, it's a drug front, run by a guy named Zadoro. He's a drug lord looking to be the next kingpin. As May gets there, the gallery blows up. Oh no. She goes inside to check on and save Zadoro. Quickwire and Big Man, people who should totally be in jail right now, are trying to get to the drug lord. Why? So May decides to get the best of them and get to Zadoro, but as she gets to him, Raptor stops her. What is going on? Spider-Girl begs Brenda to tell her what is going on and to think of Normie because this looks bad. But Brenda advises she has orders she has to follow through, and gasses Spider-Girl with this sticky gas thing until Spider-Girl is down for the count. The team also calls Mr. Nobody a teammate, and he advises them to leave with Zadoro before the place is swarming with cops. He has another task to perform, and May wakes up a bit later, confused and hurt that Brenda is out of prison and with the likes of these other guys, but she's no murderer. What is she doing? What is going on? She calls her parents to check up on things and realizes she needs to talk to Normie and let him know. But how? Like, how is she going to explain this to him? So she immediately calls him. And before he can pick up, a mysterious man in a trench coat tells Normie not to answer. The man shoots Normie 3 times, point blank, in his like stomach, chest, because he's holding his stomach, but it looks like he got shot in the chest, and leaves him to die, telling him to give regards to his grandfather, as he was always a big fan of his work. Dun dun dun. The end for now.
I
All
won't.
right.
I could literally use the dun dun dun
Don't.
for every
Every.
of this issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously we were at issue 62. So okay, my thoughts. Love this issue. I think it is probably one of my again every one of these issues are one of my favorites. But like,
Oh yeah.
just the way that the plot advances. Davita, truth be told, in terms of this universe, and we kind of made the joke about Mayday reading into things. Davita is totally misreading and reading into things that aren't there.
Well, so I don't. Here's my thing. I don't actually think that. Like, she's pretty spot on the May has been a very fair-weathered, flaky friend lately, and she like she can tell that May is hiding something from her.
Right.
She doesn't know what, and she's been pretty patient and very chill with May about this for a while. I think all of her friends have. The issue at hand, though, is just the fact of Davita's angry right now. Like, she's not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt because her ego got bruised. This is why she's angry. If this had happened to somebody else, like she had originally planned for it to, there wouldn't have been any issue. Like, Davita wouldn't have cared. She wouldn't have been mad because she wanted Nancy on the team. She just didn't have the foresight to think, well, maybe if that happens, I'm going to be taken off the team.
Right.
Even though, if I'm not mistaken, in issues past, I think Davita and May have similar roles in basketball. So it was going to be either May and Nancy. I think Nancy was in the rival team in those same positions. So it's like it was going to be Davita or May cut from the team or cut from this
starting lineup.
First string. Yeah. Anyway, why didn't she? The issue at hand is, why didn't she think about that?
It's one of those things where when you I'm assuming that they're playing the guard position. In my head
I'm pretty sure that they're point guards. Yeah.
Yeah, and even and in today's like NBA or even WNBA, point guards and shooting guards are pretty interchangeable now. It seems like. So I mean, they could Coach Thompson Flash would have put them in various lineups to have basically 3 guards, but obviously the playing time is going to get cut, and but I just think that they were so obviously they were being so encouraged by Flash to get them on the team.
To befriend Nancy. Yeah, to befriend Nancy. He knew what he was doing. He was going to put her on the starting lineup. The issue at hand is, and Davita was in on it because even May had reservations. 1, because she knew about her mutant powers, but 2, because she didn't want to just befriend Nancy and have Nancy feel like she was being used. But Davita had no problems with it. That was my thing. Davita had no problems with that. And then here's the consequences of those actions. And you're mad not at Coach Thompson, not, or you're, are sitting there going, okay, maybe I should have seen that. No, you're mad at Nancy. That's, I don't know. So like high school drama, but you know what?
It's high school drama, but Yeah.
she's very, and she always is. Like, this is the thing with Davida. Davida has blinders on, and a part of this already be her ego already being hurt is going to make what happens with them later so much worse, and kind of show
Right.
you that, like, to this, having your ego hurt like this is kind of what's going to create hate, and we'll see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you've
Almost like hate is selfish.
yeah,
Like, you know,
if
to hate
there is
things or to be selfish.
yeah, I mean, and that's definitely a theme that we'll see throughout the really between now and the end of the first volume.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, no, like I say, I understand Davita's being upset, but she's just she is she's not seeing the forest for the trees. I mean, that's the bottom line. And
Yeah.
so you know, the obviously the normie situation, the trench coat, the way, because obviously we know what's coming next, but if you're sitting there reading this issue back in '03, you're going, I mean, you're chomping at the bit, and you even
Yeah.
still feel that as you're reading these issues. You're like, okay, you got guys in trench coats and their faces are being obscured. Why are their faces being obscured? You know, what motivation do they have, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the one of the things that you might have that you kind of glossed a little bit over was the conversation with Whedon. It makes you think that Mr. Nobody's back there. Now, is it Mr. Nobody? We'll find out sooner or later.
Well, yeah. Well, because, yeah. And I mean, well, the thing is, too, it's that you're already getting these hints that, hey, Brenda, you know, we know Brenda's in this thing. So now that we
Right.
see that Brenda can't, you know, is in solitary confinement with no, you know, that's just what her status is, and they're
Right.
not allowed to give them visitors or talk to them or check in with them personally. And you're finding out that that's the same for Mr. Nobody.
Right.
And you see them together later on. It everything is very confusing, and you're not sure. It's almost as if, like, I mean, the thing is, it makes it really does look like Mr. Nobody is involved in this.
Exactly. And the we're still, you know, we're
Especially because, too, May's spider sense is telling her this.
right, exactly. And that and we're seeing everything from May's perspective. And
Mhm.
so because you know, people talk about, you know, it being first person as opposed to third person. But in this case, this is where that first person really works well, because you, the reader, are looking at it through Mayday's eyes ourselves. And so we're seeing it through her eyes, and just the narrative structure of it really works very well. And
Mhm.
so that's why, you know, I just, you know, again, as a part two issue, this does not feel like you would read today as a part two. It
I
really
don't know. That cliffhanger, though.
that cliffhanger though is holy crap, that
I
cliffhanger. Yeah. Um
Yeah, that cliffhanger still gets to me. That's like most of my thoughts on that is holy moly. Like, that's because you really didn't know until 63 if he was going to be okay, and even in 63 you don't know if he's going to be okay.
right.
um I mean, he's literally just, like, straight up point blank gun down,
I mean,
like.
yeah. Like it for an all ages comic, it it's it's not gory and graphic in the way like a Punisher book would be, but it's kind of shocking in a world that
Well, too, this scene is meant to be shocking.
yeah, and but you know, it's
It should be
this is
shocking.
where
Like.
long form storytelling can pay
Mhm.
off, and we just don't see this in modern comics because so often, you know, well, outside of like the big titles, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, um, you know, Superman, Batman, they get to have these long form storytelling titles, but you know, Flash, you know, those type of books, they get to have that. But like as an ancillary alternate universe character, especially, you don't ever get to have this amount of depth that in a world that keeps just having all these layers and the richness of it. And so it's
Mhm.
really, really cool to see, the payoffs, especially as we go back and we're reviewing these. So
Yeah.
that's basically my final thoughts on this one. If you want, you got any more on 62?
Holy shirt balls, Batman. What's happening next? That's I mean, like,
Yeah.
I this is something where it's like I'm into the story so hard. I don't really have any more final thoughts that I haven't explained in my breakdown,
Right.
other than just like how completely shocking and like you realize how high the stakes are here
Yeah. Yeah.
once
And
Normie is shot.
I mean, the
And
fact that issue 1 took out the Kingpin
mhm.
potentially. Like,
Well, he's in critical condition.
yeah, he's in critical
We'll
condition.
we'll we'll find out what happens in 63,
Yeah.
but he's in critical condition, and now so is Normie.
So is Normie. So all right. Issue 63, the information on it is August 2003 was when it was released. Cover dated October. Kelly has the breakdown for this particular one.
Yep.
Kelly?
And the issue's title is called If This Be My Destiny.
Huh. I wonder where they plucked that one from.
Huh.
Huh.
So, May is with her parents and Foggy in the hospital waiting room. They are all there because Normie's in surgery and could very well be dead right now, and May blames herself. Normie was the real target all this time, and had May not thought she was the target, she could have been there to save him. At least she thinks she could have. Normie is on the operating table, and we get to see his dream, his limbo, whatever you choose to believe it is. But I'm going to continue saying limbo here for reasons. And yeah, so he's dressed in the Green Goblin costume, asking where he is. His grandfather is perched on the family gravestone, and if you notice, it only says Emily, Norman, and Harry. No Liz. Which I know she wasn't an Osborn at the time of her death here in
Right.
MC2, but I'm throwing this out there for a reason, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it ties into this story. So Norman is also in a Green Goblin costume, and he reminds Normie that he was shot, and Normie assumes that this means that he's in the afterlife. Norman manipulates the situation to get Normie to let his guard down and punches him into the gravestone, telling him that he is a weak, pathetic man who betrayed him, that he turned his back on his destiny, made everything that is the Green Goblin a mockery, and brought shame on the name they share. All he had to do was kill the girl, kill May. But instead, he fell in love with her. Norman, eyes red in demonic anger, taunts him on how well did that work out, Normie. At the hospital, May can't stand just waiting around anymore. She's got to do something. So May makes an excuse to leave, and MJ sees right through it. She tells May that while it makes her nervous when she goes out, she knows that she needs to find Normie's attackers and bring him to justice. May goes to a stairwell to get to the rooftop to change when her spider sense goes off. She rushes to find Kane in a trench coat on the roof.
Ooh.
Mary Jane and Peter talk about where May went, and they run into Captain Ruiz, who advises them that Fisk has taken a turn for the worst and is also in surgery. We get to see his limbo as well, where he's met with a silhouette that looks an awful lot like his son. Spoiler, it's totally Richard. Richard takes the kingpin. I mean, you kind of learn it. It happens a few panels later, but it's definitely Richard.
Yes.
Richard takes.
It's a
Sorry,
specific era with Richard too.
it
It's when
is.
he
It's
was the
very
schemer.
yes, and takes the kingpin on a look of his life. So a very it's a wonderful world esque limbo here, just for the kingpin. So probably not obviously probably not as happy as It's a Wonderful World. So Spider-Girl pushes Kane against the wall and demands answers. Did he have something to do with what's going on with Normie? Why is he here? Kane advises he's there because he heard about the Kingpin, and he has nothing to do with Normie being shot. They speak about Dark Devil, and before they can discuss more about this gang war, they're attacked by Mr. Nobody. Again, also in a trench coat. Great. That's like the worst twinning ever, honestly.
It really is. Kane,
It's
you could have
unfortunate.
had, yeah.
Yeah. So Kane advises how dangerous Nobody is and how he probably shot Normie and kidnapped Dark Devil. But Nobody laughs it off and advises that he's there because his superiors think Kane is there to kill Fisk. Mr. Nobody explains that he's in a government program and says that Big Man, Quickwire, and Raptor were also a part of it, but they went rogue. And they're the ones killing crime bosses now. Kane advises he's clearly lying, but May isn't really sure who to believe because Kane isn't being very forthcoming with his information. Meanwhile, in Normie's limbo, Norman is beating him up pretty badly, telling Normie how he's disgusted by him playing Watson to May's Sherlock and how she'd never survive if he hadn't been helping her. Also, side note though, I've had some people read this and go, is he saying Watson like MJ Watson?
No.
And no, that's not it. It's Watson and Sherlock, but it is a weird thought bubble.
Yeah.
Especially after the few pages where it's like, no, you had to fall in love with her. So I do get where that's a little weird. But no, it's Watson and Sherlock. It's a Sherlock reference. So Norman basically is pretty mad at Normie because May would have never really survived if he hadn't been helping her, which is kind of true. So yeah. So anyway, someone does come to Normie's rescue though. It's his father, Harry. Harry tells Norman to stop this and that someone needs to protect his son. So we go back to the real world. It's weird. I don't know how to call it real world or not, but
Mindscape, real world.
Yeah. Back in not brains. Mr. Nobody continues his crap. Continues his crap in the living world. Because I'm sorry, but like even when Mr. Nobody is speaking here, you just get the feeling that something's afoot. Like Mr. Nobody doesn't talk this much, and he talks a lot in this issue. So he paints Kane in a bad light, and he's being Spider-Girl's savior, which again, as I stated just now and in my notes, this screams red flags for me.
May, start reading between the lines.
Yeah. But the thing is some of what he's saying does make sense when you can't trust Kane, and Kane isn't clarifying anything other than just saying, no, he's a liar. So that's, I get it's hard. This is hard. Kane needs to start talking. So Fisk and Richard keep going through the Kingpin story. Fisk, of course, is like, is this supposed to make me have some big cosmic revelation? I did what I had to do. And in a ball of white light, Vanessa shows up, reminding him that he wasn't doing what he had to do. He let his power and lust for power consume him. That he selfishly sacrificed everything to make his Kingpin dreams come true, and for what? At what cost? She advises him that this is his reckoning, that his time has come, and he will not be spending eternity with her, but alone. This is what he deserves. Fisk begs, pleading about asking what he can do to change things, and Vanessa asks him, can he change? Can he become a man who can repent and renounce the life he once lived? Back on the hospital rooftop, Mr. Nobody is speaking far too much to try and convince Spider-Girl he's on her side, and Kane, and kind of really going in there with Kane as the leader of this rogue team. May ask Kane to clarify, but he doesn't want to while they're dodging bullets. In Normie's limbo.
As you would.
Yeah, as you would, but someone's got to start talking sometime, because the only person that's talking during all of this is Mr. Nobody, which to me reads suspicious, but you know, she's 15.
Right. Yeah.
So in Normie's limbo, Norman has a foot on Normie's neck and a hand around Harry's. Norman tells Harry that he died because he chose the Parkers over him, and now Normie is following that example. Someone behind him, though, in a pool of light, demands for Norman to release them and tells them that he needs to go. Norman tells the voice that they shouldn't interfere with Osborne business. The voice is Liz, and Liz thinks otherwise. That's her husband and her son, and Norman is the one who doesn't belong. The light scaring Norman, because he's got to live in the shadows. Basically, it scares Norman off, and he leaves with the ominous Normie will never be free from me. But Liz reminds Normie that he doesn't have to be shackled by the past or the future. Normie asks his mother if he's going to die, and she tells him that his destiny is in his own hands. He can choose the peace and security of the grave or the pain and uncertainty of life. He just needs to choose wisely. She kisses him on the forehead, and he is bathed in light. The surgeons that we see are advising that their patients' vitals are crashing, and we're also seeing someone's heart rate kind of die off as the vitals are crashing, and they need to stabilize his heart. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Spider-Girl shoots some very sticky web to the ground to cause Kane to fall, and then she tackles Mr. Nobody. The surgeons are trying to stabilize their dying patient, and Kane uses this chance to leave the rooftop, and Mr. Nobody tells Spider-Girl that this will cost more people their lives, all because of her. And she asks herself, what has she done? The surgeons advise that it's over and someone is gone. The time of death is 6:47 p.m. And there is no the end for now. That is literally the last thing said on that page.
Yeah, it is. It's what an incredible issue.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite issue. I love it so much. I have that original piece of the art.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
For me, the twin situations with Fisk and Normie, and how they highlight each other and how similar they are to one another. I love the mindscape with Normie and how Norman is just a magnificent B word.
I mean, but he's too, if you looked at the size of Norman in the limbo compared to Harry and Normie, like Norman is a beast of a man compared to them, which I think also just implies too is like how dark everything was, and they're in this graveyard. It really applies to like how Norman has made things so dark and horrible for the Osborns. Like if this is their family limbo,
like, and if you
bleak.
Yeah, and if you look at the colors of the
red
costumes,
eyes.
like the red eyes, obviously, but
demonic.
the colors of like hair. You look when like the page where you got Harry being held and Norman, and how it's just a deeper, richer purple, whereas Normie's is more pastel.
Yeah,
and even Harry's is the same color scheme. And so it just really, you can see that, and like the evil grin on Norman's face as he's like being strong and ruthless. It's just, it's so good. And then of course, the fact that it's not only Richard, but Richard in his schemer outfit, like that is a deep cut that only Tom DeFalco would bring up. For the record, that was Richard Fisk's first appearance was as a character called the Schemer, who was going after the Kingpin, and it was a Lee Ramita story that I actually first read in the Essentials And so, yeah, I saw that. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that deep cut. So again, just really well done. We're halfway through the story, but like the drama and the action are just really good. And look, there's not a ton of. I mean, there's the action part with May
So
too.
there's a lot of action going on, but the thing is what's driving the story here?
The
Human
characters,
emotion.
yeah,
Yeah, and the characters, and being able to relate to
right,
those feelings in some way. Like with Fisk, here is a older man at the end of his life, which this is the thing that I think is so great, especially now, like we see in like Into the Spider-Verse,
right,
the general public has basically at this point been pretty well indoctrinated in what motivates Wilson Fisk, his family.
yeah,
But that's actually not what motivates him in the comics.
no,
Power motivates him. He thinks it's his family. He
yeah,
regrets losing his family, but it's
yeah,
not his family, and he can't get out of his own head. And even here, his son, like his son's spirit, shows him his life and how like everything was about power and bleakness, and he has no remorse until he finds out that he's not going to spend this eternity with Vanessa like he thought he was going to.
right. Because I mean, he just assumes.
He assumes
Well,
it's
you're my
okay. Yeah.
wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
He always assumes the best, but he can't.
He can't
Kingpin
get out of his
can,
own head.
yeah, he can never get out of his own way,
Hmm.
and like kind of like Davita in
Yeah.
certain ways. You can't see the forest for the trees, and so that's where when you look at this character, it's like, oh, I've really, and especially when you look at it now, it's like this guy lost his wife, he lost his son, he's lost everything that
Well,
he
I mean,
loved.
and even in this universe, he literally was running his Kingpin empire from a jail cell. Like
Yeah,
he didn't get out of jail in this
yeah,
universe. Like he's been there. He's been there this whole time.
yeah.
So
Like,
this isn't the Kingpin we know in the 616. He doesn't get to be mayor of New York City.
yeah, right. I mean, he's not. Yeah, and in this, Daredevil ultimately sacrifices his life to ensure that Kingpin was put away. And
Yeah.
so, and that's where again the richness and the depth of this universe. If you've especially read everything, you don't have to read everything. I highly encourage you to read everything, but you don't have to read everything. But everything is subtext. And so, if you have read everything, you understand how far the king has fallen.
Yeah.
And
But the fact
so
that he doesn't even realize that until literally the
the very end,
very end of his life. It's a totally other story, which is kind of why I didn't want to like super focus on it, because it's
right,
not what helps continue the story,
right,
but it is a really nice, to me, it's a really nice character piece
yes,
that I think often goes overlooked. But if again,
I would put
this
it
is
in.
so beautifully
Yeah,
written. It's one of my favorite issues because of that, because it's like you have this dynamic part that is continuing to tell a story that is very dynamic within this story. And also here's a character that has kind of been not Kingpin hasn't really been very I wouldn't say that he's been the most dynamic character in Spider-Girl, but he's still being given um a very respectful storyline
yeah.
here.
I would view Kingpin as in the MC2, he's a force of nature.
Yeah, well, he is in the 616 too, but
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that,
yeah,
like, he doesn't really play like, he plays a role, he has very important moments, but I wouldn't call him, like, a major player, a major villain for me
yeah.
at all.
He's certain. Yeah, I mean, there's no major, huge, giant confrontations between the two. He is truly in the background
Yeah,
and never gets to come to the foreground, at least with May.
yeah,
He does with in other aspects, but never with May. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely
So
like that.
so, for him to still get this kind of story is very, I think it's very important, and it's very, emotional, I don't know. Like it's poignant. Is that the word? I don't know. Because my brain like blinked on what it should be, but I really enjoyed it. And then two, I love anything. Like I think this is the thing is like this is something about Norman Osborn as a character. When he's there, he
Yeah.
takes over. And
Speaking of forces of nature, like
yeah, I
I
mean,
agree.
so that so like in that limbo story, it's fantastic. It's fantastic to see Liz drive him out. But the thing I wanted to talk about, I guess my final thoughts on it is this is like where I went into a weird tangent. It's something that struck me rereading this, and I just kind of want to say because like we've had a lot of talks, especially with the Funko Pops, about we want more Spider-Girl merch. We want more Spider-Girl. We want to restart the series. We want things to come back. When Liz tells Normie that, he can choose the peace and security of the grave or the pain and uncertainty of life, I kind of like inadvertently started thinking about how this series did continue, what happened to the series when it truly ended, what happened in Spider-Verse and Web Warriors, and to an extent, Spider-Geddon and Spider-Girls.
Yeah. And how there's a whole group of people that don't accept anything beyond Spider-Girl the end. So
Well, they don't, and because here's the thing: is like there's the peace and security of the grave. There's where we ended it,
right.
and then there's what we've gotten, which I'm sorry, but Web Warriors causes me great pain. So
Which we will get to.
we will get to. But my thing is just it's kind of like the thing is that and this even goes back with Davida and Nancy. Be careful what you wish for. Because if they do bring her back, which I'll be honest, especially with the fact that there seems to be a very high market for her, like it's very high popularity for items, which means there will be, I'm sure, new merch. I'm almost positive she's probably going to make an appearance in Into the Spider-Verse 2 at this point.
I think it's a foregone conclusion.
They're putting, there's Dark Ages coming out, and everybody thinks that baby there, even though she's got red hair, is going to be Baby May.
Right.
There is no actual definitive proof on that.
Right.
Bleeding Cool, but all right. Sorry, I just
yeah, but Bleeding Cool has been.
It started the rumor, and I was just like,
Oh,
but you have no clue what watch the baby be named Annie. Like it.
Yeah.
It could be either child at this point. Both of them are beloved characters.
Right.
So you can't always assume. Don't
Well,
assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Let's just be fair. Let's not assume.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But anyway, but in that it's very clear she's having this kind of renaissance period, and I love it. But at the same time, I am very cautious and very weary. And so, like I said, this line struck me because it is like my weariness comes from right now. We have this peace and security. No one's messing with her. No one's touching her.
Right.
We can breathe a sigh of relief. We just get to go back and reread and enjoy this time that we're rereading it from, because there is a lot of uncertainty in who is taking the character, how they're going to take the character and present the character, and what will they do. And we've been burned before, and unfortunately that is life. Like, I mean, Peter's character is a very good example of that. Batman's a very good example. Like, comics change, comics grow. It always depends on the writers, and unfortunately May is not
immune.
Our character, she's not Tom and Ron's character in the day. It's Marvel's, and Marvel can do whatever they want. But that's just kind of something that struck me, and something I wanted to bring up, because it is very much like, there's peace and security with it being, nothing new happening. But is that really what we want?
Exactly. No, we don't know.
So that's kind of the thing, is that it's just we've seen. I want fans to keep going and finding her. I just, if there's got to be something new, I want it done right, and I'm afraid that will never happen with Marvel.
Right. Well, and look, and going back to what you were saying about this Renaissance, there's a lot of 90s nostalgia right now. It's very hot. In fact, I think that's a big reason that we're getting Ben Reilly back as the Amazing Spider-Man. I mean,
Well, I think there's bits and pieces. Like I
yeah,
think that might be a bit of it. I also like legitimately think they did not intend for Spencer to leave this early. So I think that they were thinking. I really think that they were just thinking of, hey, what can we do? And they realized that they can't necessarily do a writing crew with Peter, but they can play around with Ben this way because Ben has a lot more that they can expand on there,
right,
without
and
upsetting too many people. You know what I
exactly
mean?
right, and it's one of those things where you're following such a big, epic, major run or major character defining arc. We got to do something different. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So yeah, like this brings us to issue 64,
Yeah.
cover dated November 2003, released September 4th, 2003. I'll have the breakdowns for the rest of the episode. So
Yeah, I
our
have no
issue,
more notes past this.
it's gonna be just freestyling the
Oh
rest of the time.
no.
No, well, by the way,
No.
issue 63's cover
Mhm.
holds the distinction of being the cover for the first digest. Just saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So here we are, issue 64, Marked for Death, Part 4. Our issue begins in Argentina, where a man of mystery is looking to see the latest bugle. The reports are in. The kingpin of crime is dead. The man remarks that he must pay his respects and that he's in a New York state of mind. Clearly, Tom DeFalco or Ron Friends or Billy Joel fans. The opening splash page is of May sitting next to Normie. MJ comes in.
This issue is called Outed.
The issue is called Outed. And yes, thank you. So MJ walks in asking if Normie's awake.
Hey, hold on.
Oh,
You're
okay.
you're bypassing something.
So
This
May
is
is
another one
like,
of my favorite issues. So sorry.
yeah, I know.
I'm gonna go on.
So May is, racked with guilt. Is it because someone was shot? Was he shot because of you? What's going on? What's going on? The doctors have managed to resuscitate him. Yay, doctors. But then he weakly says, Brenda, is that you?
Yeah, as she's
So
holding his hand. So
as May is holding
or May.
Normie's hand.
That's too. She's been sitting there. It seems like it's basically, if it's not Mary Jane's sitting with him, it's
they've been
May.
rotating.
It's basically the whole family is rotating. So
yeah, which been there, done that. Have the t-shirt. So MJ walks in asking if Normie's awake, and May just kind of dismisses everything. So,
and then
saying that he's just mumbling in his sleep. Obviously, MJ's like, "Hey, it's time for you to go to school," and MJ starts kind of interrogating May subtly.
okay,
saying,
I never read it as that though.
well,
I never read it as an interrogation.
Okay.
She wants the gossip because she's concerned about her daughter, but like the way Mary Jane plays off the boy talk with her is very much like, oh, like it's like gal pals, it's girlfriends. She doesn't really, she's not Peter and like needing to dictate who she does and does not see. So
right.
it's she wants the 411. She's a cool mom.
Yeah, she is the cool mom. So she, she wants the full story, and she's like, well, where's his girlfriend if they're not that serious? And May obviously has to say that she's in prison. So, May is obviously still stung by the seemingly betrayal of Raptor, and she's swinging to meet with Canis. And
Canis or Canis? I think it's Canis because there's
Canis.
no I.
Okay, yeah, Canis. Sorry. Canis is still being overly helpful with May, talking about, briefly mentions a man named the Black Tarantula. He has interest in South America, Europe, and the Middle East, and Asia, basically everywhere but the United States. And so when May goes, "You're being very cooperative," he goes, last time we had a conversation, you hung me off the side of the building. I just, So, um, and so basically, sorry, just
Are you freestyle? Are you really freestyling?
no, I'm not freestyling. So, obviously, Spider Sense starts to tingle, and of course, there is Mr. Nobody, and he's being overly helpful. He wants to help.
Again,
He's
talking too much. He's talking too much. This
yeah,
is suspicious. Sorry, I'm
yes,
just gonna interject.
very sus, as others might say. He tells May that Kane and his cronies are behind everything. He's using this to reiterate that Kane is the one that is there, and so May is
Well,
obviously uncertain because it could be leading into a trap, but she heads to school. Once again, she's walking the halls and she runs into Sandra. Sandra, of course, completely brushes her off, tries to talk to her, but it's to no avail. And so Courtney then rushes to May and tells her there's a big situation going off. Jim, there's big trouble, and it's Nancy and it's Davita. So on one side, you've got DeVito, dressed out for basketball. You got Nancy and JJ on the other side, and DeVita.
Wait. It's okay. I was about to say too, but it's clearly the padding in the gym. But
Yeah,
for some reason, my brain, as I'm relooking, I was like, wait, why is JJ in the girls' locker room?
yeah, it's the padding
No,
at the
he's
gym.
not. Yeah,
He's
it's the
not.
padding.
Yeah, he's not in the locker room. So, JJ is defending Nancy, and it's like, look, this is a big. You don't know what you're talking about, and so Nancy decides to pop off. For the record, I understand why Nancy pops off, but decides to pop off. And
Okay, Nancy doesn't even pop off. Like Nancy just, she's tired of it, so she's calling out
that's true.
obvious issues with Davita that are very sensitive to Davita, which is what makes it so harsh. But Davita's the one that pops off, just
Right.
because she's the one that brings JJ into it.
Right. And so, of course, Davita then throws a ball at her. As it starts hurtling closer, Nancy defends herself using her telekinesis to deflect the ball, smacking Davita in the face. Obviously, this becomes a big thing. The other teammates are like, "Did you just see that? The ball reversed direction midair. That's not possible, of course." And then Davita says, "You're a freak, a mutant freak." This causes Mr. Slattery to show up and go, "What's going on here? Go to the nurse, Miss Luke, my office. The rest of you go back. The show is over." And May is obviously just like shocked by this turn of events. Meanwhile, in one of my favorite scenes of the entire series, because especially now that I am a dad, Peter is struggling. He is trying to change poor Benji's diaper, and it's just not going well. He's telling the story about how Peter never gives up. And I eventually found
the master planner story.
He's telling the master planner story. And then MJ just walks in and goes, "That old master planner story, last time I heard that was when you're trying to fix the toilet." So Peter's like, "I was about to hunt down the old web shooters, and he was going to make a web diaper for baby Benji," which partially might terrify MJ.
Well, she literally says, "Hand him over, and I'll pretend that you're kidding."
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we all know that would have happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we saw web diapers with Dan Slott's run. I'm sorry. Anyway,
it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. So
This would have been way cuter.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cute scene. MJ eventually changes the diaper, and obviously she's voicing her concerns to Peter about what's going on with May, and says maybe we should plan a surprise party, because in MJ's mind, parties are always the way to cheer somebody up. All right. So we come back to school, where meanwhile
it's a birthday party too.
Yeah,
we'll have to have that,
or May's birthday party. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have that discussion on that issue.
Absolutely. So, to be continued. So we go back to school. Obviously, we have a scene where May's walking down the hall, bumps into Brad, Heather, and Jimmy, and they're having the discussion about what's going on. And meanwhile, Brad seems to think it's a dangerous situation. So let me roll my eyes.
Well, we'll
uh,
get into that later too.
yeah, much later. Yeah, and so obviously Moose and Courtney then show up, and Moose is kind of like, "Hey, sticks up for her. She's a mutant. A lot of mutants put their lives on the line to keep us safe. Maybe Spider Girl's a mutant, which is not true.
It's not true, but the thing is that there are other side stories where that's possible. If I'm not
Right?
mistaken, Annie in Renew Your Vows is basically considered a mutant.
Yeah.
So in this isn't necessarily too far off from a conversation in between May,
Right.
especially too with like we said in previous issues, like we know Davita knows May is hiding something from her, and so this is kind of a way to see and test those waters on like, well, what if May did come out to Davita and tell her what's going on? Right now, the only
Right.
two people we see that are anywhere near safe are Courtney and Moose.
Yeah. So
Well, and
yeah.
JJ, but yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Courtney agrees with Moose. I mean, they've clearly had a discussion about this and says, look, there's room for people all over the world. And then, of course, that's when DeVito shows up. And she's talking about how it's not fair. Athletes are supposed to compete on a level playing field. And this causes a massive blow up between May and DeVita. They're going back and forth. DeVita does not understand why May would even think of defending Nancy.
Well,
And
reason it blows up is because Davita basically says, "Look, I was doing everyone a favor by exposing that."
right,
And May says, "Well, everyone's entitled to their secrets." And Davita goes, "Well, what are you hiding?"
you're
That's
right.
why it blows up.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to get to that. Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
because of that, it starts to blow up, and May's like, "What if I am? It's nice to know it would change the way you think about me." And just May storms off. Of course, right as this happens is when MJ decides to call Davita.
Aw.
So, to Davita's credit, to Davita's credit, she says, "That sounds great. Sure, no problem. You can count on me to tell all her friends. I'm happy to help." So, despite this giant blow up, Davita is willing to let the, let bygones be bygones. Go from there. Of course, um, May bumps into JJ. JJ is trying to find Nancy, and they think that Nancy's obviously left, and so apparently, Nancy with JJ has made him a little more sensitive, so that's a good thing. So May starts going into the stairs, and then her spider sense starts to go off. She changes into her Spider Girl costume, and she can't find who is stalking her. So she's still got a stalker at school. So May starts to follow up on the tip that Mr. Nobody left, which is going to this amusement park. And sure enough, you got Big Man and Quickwire with Kane. The only person that seems to be missing is Raptor. So this causes a fight between Raptor and Mayday. And Mayday is.
Well, Raptor shows up from behind.
Right. Raptor shows up from behind. But this
Yeah.
causes May to react. And she is not happy.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a certain word where a letter could be replaced.
Right. She calls her a lying witch. And thinks
which
that
is fair. You have to think about it too. Like
right.
May has a huge crush on, like, in fair, I don't think it goes beyond crushing at this point for both Normie and May. Like, they really do love each other. They have each other's backs.
They just don't understand their love for each other yet.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there could be discussions on how people could take that too. But in general, of what I'm saying though is that, like, they really do love each other. Like, in all fairness, she's been at his bedside anytime she could.
Right.
This is the person that she has been like 100% honest and clear. There are no secrets between them. And Brenda's keeping this huge thing from Normie, and
ultimately Mayday. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mace not only feels betrayed by their friendship, she feels like she has to defend Normie.
But also, I mean, you got to think too. Her entire worldview has been shattered in her
Yeah.
mind right now. She, she's putting her faith in people, and that's one of her best qualities. And she's feeling like that quality has been completely twisted and turned on her, and it's affecting
Everywhere too.
yeah, everywhere. I mean, this is where she impossibly feels alone. And so, of course, the fight goes into the meeting area, and they continue to fight. Quickwire is ready to you know jump
Of
at a
course he
moment's
is.
nose,
Yeah.
and Kane's like tells him to stand down. That it's a private fight. And so they continue the fight back outside. And Brenda does not understand why she's so interested. Like, why do she's trying to explain, I care about him. Do you think I hate being separated from Normie? And she has the line of the issue, you're not always right. So, and there's a lot of hurt now with Brenda, because she hates the fact that she thinks that somebody could that she could hurt Normie. So
Well,
that's a
too,
big thing.
she also doesn't. I don't believe that she's aware that Whedon is actively
Right.
trying to keep Normie away from her. Like they're trying to break them up for the team's best interest, the government's best interest at this point.
Right. Exactly. So
So
as we saw in that scene prior, so obviously we know
yeah.
that Kane's working. So we then get to the point where May asks the simple question. Raptor's like, look, I have a job to do, and that's going to help me get closer to Normie. I'm in love with him. So, and Kane's like, that's really all you want to know? And so, that's when May starts being accused towards Kane, when then suddenly, finally, for the first time, May is introduced to Special Agent Arthur Whedon. And they're part of a government organization designed to, it's an experimental new program. So he's like, I can put you under arrest and bury you for the rest of your life. So this really just rattles Mayday. She's like, wait, what? You mean they're working for the U.S. government? What? Who murdered
But
the
if you
Kingpin?
notice, there is no Mr. Nobody.
Yes, that is a key point. So there's no Mr. Nobody. He's obviously let her here for a reason. And she's still like, what's happened with Dark Devil? So then finally, the final page of the issue, we see Dark Devil tied up, strapped up to a electrified fence, and we have Mr. Nobody gleefully making him, torturing him, making him scream in agony once more for old time's sake. The end for now, and that is the end of the issue. Kelly, you kind of peppered in your thoughts throughout the recap.
I did,
but
only because I did not write them out, so that I'm just like this. So yeah, so sorry guys.
No, it's fine.
We're definitely not on our A game today, but I think we're having fun. I think we're okay.
We're having a great time. Listen, if you're having a great time, tell us in the comments, and we'll read it here in a minute.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, I enjoy this issue. Things definitely start getting cleared up a little bit. I think mostly the thing I really have is like, I remember reading this when it was newer and still just being mad at Brenda, because I'm just like, well, you could have gone AWOL. You could have gone to see him. Clearly you don't care enough. But like, I think, to just really thinking about it, we have no clue what was being told to her while Whedon was actively trying to keep them separated. And that could have also been one of the reasons why Kane was on the rooftop, was to make sure that Brenda didn't go to the hospital.
Right. And he may have been assigned to say, hey, you got to keep the two of them away. Because more or less we kind of see Vinkman said, I missed the part where Kane punched Quickwire in the face. That actually was a clothesline, according to the dialogue.
Yeah.
But which is a offbeat wrestling reference. How that happened. Okay. Anyway. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Kane is more or less the team leader of this troop. And so this has obviously been building for a while. And so now we're seeing something. This is something that's going to percolate throughout the rest of the volume, especially. So this is definitely setting something up we're going to see a lot of. Whedon, this is not the last we've seen of Agent Whedon.
Which, okay, he's not, we kind of learn he's not such a bad guy, but especially here, you really can't feel like you trust him.
Right.
And I think some other scenes in the past issues, the last two scenes that the first time and second time we see him, definitely don't
Right.
trust him, because he's one of those the ends justify the means characters, which isn't always the best character to align yourself with. And I think that this is kind of where we're going to start seeing that a little bit with this team. We'll definitely see it in later issues. So yeah, so I don't like I enjoyed this. Also, I think one of my things I do want to say and touch on more is just again, like I said, because we'll see it later on,
Right.
in Amazing. So Brad and Davita's mirroring here and the kind of inklings that we're getting. We'll definitely see it later. But it's kind of like where right now Davita's hot and she's angry.
Right.
So yeah, she's gonna say hateful, hurtful things because she's angry because her feelings are hurt. She's more than happy to jump to the side of hate and have an us versus them mentality if she's
Right.
getting something out of it. But even
Exactly.
here, she's starting to feel, okay, that's not necessarily the best decision. I'm starting to regret doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a definite weird flaw with her. I think that's why I don't like her as much, because she does always do this and it's
Right.
always very selfishly motivated, versus Brad is a bigot. So, and we'll learn
Which
more about that later. But here's the two sides
spoilers.
of the hate. Well, yeah, I know, but here's these two people that are hating on mutants, but for very different reasons.
There you go.
But it doesn't make their hate any different. And I think that that's the thing that you're starting to see here on how that's not okay.
Davita just comes off as an entitled, spoiled girl.
She is.
And
Totally.
so you're definitely seeing that entitlement bubble up throughout this subplot. And
Yeah.
so it's very, it's always been subtext, but really here it's very much in your face when she's mad and something's not going her way. Clearly,
Well,
she's not been one that has had to struggle for a lot of things.
no,
She's
and
been
I mean,
she's been a natural athlete. She's been able to get everything sort of handed to her.
she always has these guys, but like Nancy
Yeah.
said earlier, she can't keep them. Why can't she keep them? Well, it always plays off as it's fickle, but we actually don't always know what's going on with her. I would say in general, I think that there could have been a lot more here, and kind of see, okay, but why does she act like this? Why does she always have blinders on and think very selfishly? Because there's always a backstory as to why. And there could be many different avenues, and I really haven't thought of it, so I don't have a head canon here.
Right.
But it's it's a thing. She presents a very happy, perfect life, but it's very clear it's not, because if any little thing messes it up, it causes a meltdown. And to the point that most of her friends ignore her meltdowns, including May, which is why May seemed really, really insensitive when Davita's world was crashing from being cut from the team.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason for that, but we never really fully get into it. So there is that. So those are really my only super thoughts on this issue, but still a great issue. And
great issue. Great setup. I love.
And now we know too, May is right on Mr. Nobody.
She's right on Mr. Nobody. She's finally getting the answers. This is where you're seeing the falling action of the story occur. This is where, okay, up until part 3, May doesn't really know what's going on. Now we're starting to see the onion unravel, and we're starting to get the answers for the characters, starting to get the answers to the story. Again, classic pacing here. It's a 3-act play, really. I mean, the first 2 issues are Act 1. The second 2 issues are Act 2, and now we're in Act 3, where we're getting towards the conclusion of the story. So very well done. Artwork's really dynamic. The fight scene with Raptor is always fun and just allows them to just really shine. I think at this point, I'll say this throughout the rest of the run, they're starting to cook with bacon grease, Sal and and Ron. So the artwork's fantastic. obviously DeFalco's done a really good job with the pacing of it is really well done,
Yeah.
and you just don't see something this well paced anymore. A lot of times you get these 6-issue arcs and they start going, oh crap, I've got only 44 pages left and I haven't wrapped up all my subplots. So
Well, I think.
yeah,
Okay, I mean, we can get into the Spencer thing. I really think a large part of that is just
timing. Yeah.
time. Well, it's timing, but I think someone thought that they had more time than they wound up having,
Right.
even if it seems like it was his choice to leave. But anyway,
Right. That's true.
no,
And I
like
don't
there's
disagree
really
with
good
that.
synergy here. I mean, I think ultimately it's just you can tell that there's a very good creative team working together,
Yes. The
and
art and the
that's
writing.
and that shows. Yeah.
When Pat calls them a hive mind, like they just mind meld, it is really true. And they just there is that comfort level of the storytelling that just permeates through. So definitely true.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll jump to 65 if you're ready.
I'm ready. So the title is called Grave Matters, since I know that you didn't put that in your info.
Yeah. So Grave Matters is the title, of course, like she said, released on October 1st, 2003, cover dated for December of 2003. So our issue opens with our at this point not so favorite special agent talking about Fabian Lemuerto, the Black Tarantula. It has been 5 years in our time as of this, like from the time that this was being released to from the Tom DeFalco ISM run. But the last time we heard that name uttered in the Spider Verse overall, 616, was when Tom DeFalco was writing it. Before time, he was a large figure in the Amazing Spider-Man comics at the time, and so so this is the first time May is truly learning everything about him. We're getting kind of a breakdown
Well, okay,
of
no, hold on. Fabian is the son.
yes, Fabian's the son.
Yes.
Yeah, and Peter encountered the father. I was going to get into
Mhm.
that later on when Peter
Well,
brought that up.
it's very clear here that this
Right.
is not the same person that we know of 5 years ago. So I think we should preface that.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's not
he
the same.
says,
You're
yeah,
trying to make it seem like it's the same guy, and it's not. Like this.
right,
This is a what 20. Well, no, because he's older. Because he's the same age as Anya would be, right?
right.
Around
He's
the same
around
age.
12. Well, he's although barely 20 years old, he currently rules the criminal empire that's been passed down from father to
Oh,
son for over 100
wait.
years.
Then wait. How does he know Anya? Because Anya would be like,
30.
yeah, because they have a thing in the past, and if he's only 19, I am Anya. No,
Bad girl,
no,
Anya. So
no, that's disgusting. That's horrible.
you could argue though that
It could.
their
She's a different
thing,
age. He's a different age.
yeah, that their
Yeah.
thing also was probably his father forcing that upon him because they're always looking
It's
for
still wrong. It's
it's
still
wrong.
wrong.
It's still wrong on many ways, but yes. So obviously they're briefing because uh Whedon does not like has there's something that happened in the past and he's eluded capture with Whedon. So that causes May to raise her hand like she's in class. We have Big Man, Raptor, Quickwire, Kane all there, and May's
Wait,
raising her hand.
okay, just to recall back to the earlier issues where her and Normie are like, well, we can't go to the bars. We don't have fake ID. Like, we can't we can't go beat people up in the bars. We're not of legal age.
We can't.
Raise my hand.
Sorry. I need to raise my hand. I'm in a government sanctioned briefing. Let me raise my hand so I can wait my turn. Freaking Quickwire's like
She's
this is
precious.
ridiculous.
I don't care.
This is
her at
not
all
high school.
costs.
So, May is confused because like, why are we focused on this guy? What's the reasoning? And so obviously Whedon is just more or less annoyed, but he is partially terrified of Kane. So Kane is like, I vouched for her. You're going to let this. You might as well give her the full scoop because she is relentless.
Mhm.
So basically, it comes to a point where Whedon dismisses everybody, says it's time for you to leave. Wilson Fisk is going to be buried tomorrow, and they got to make, they got to do their strategy planning. So Raptor walks her out, and of course she asks, "How is Normie?" They won't let me visit. He won't let her visit him in the hospital.
Mhm.
They're probably. And we also learn in this that Mr. Nobody was a former member of the program,
Yeah.
no longer associated, but a former member. And so Whedon's worried that she'll go off the reservation like Mr. Nobody did. So May, to her credit, tells the truth. He's been asking about her. And even in her own internal monologue, she's like, "What's wrong with you? She's the competition." But the focus now is to trying to find a Mr. Nobody. So she decides to go to her father for advice. And Peter is obviously taken aback that a government agency would consider Kane an asset. But May, tries to keep Peter's focus more on Mr. Nobody and Daredevil. And he goes, "Hey, step into my office." So they go up back into the attic, and that's when she is introduced to the Spider Tracers. However, Peter kind of learned in the offhanded comment a couple of issues ago about how May's spider sense is a little different. So when he activates it, May's spider sense doesn't go off because it's not tuned to her spider sense. She doesn't feel anything. So he whips up a gizmo, or he pulls out a gizmo and gives it to May that it can use to help track it. I don't know if this is the gizmo of like he used for like MJ's Spider Tracer and stuff. I don't know if this is like a reference to the 90s show. I don't remember this in canon, but
I don't
I
think
could be
it
wrong.
was for the
I know he had it in the 90s show for the Spider Tracers.
Yeah. That's true. But I don't think that was a reference to that. I think there had to have been an issue somewhere. I don't know the issue at the top of my head, but I don't know. But it does make sense that he would have something for someone else to help track it for him, like maybe something with the Avengers or Fantastic Four.
Right.
Maybe MJ. It depends on the storyline. So
that's true.
I don't know, but
Tom DeFalco would know. So I trust him. It's not something that would just be whipped out. Willy-nilly.
No,
no.
I know.
Canon.
Yeah, no, obviously. So that's my thing. But yeah, so all right. So what's next after that lovely father-daughter bonding scene?
So after the father-daughter bonding scene, we get a mother-daughter bonding scene where May is about to drink out of the carton. But
which sounds really good right now. I do kind of want milk and cookies.
Right? So May is, kind of going.
We're wearing.
Yeah, so May is wearing
she's in the outfit.
Beanie,
no.
A beanie with a white star.
Yep.
And she's wearing an "I Love New York" t-shirt, which is what Kelly would be wearing right now.
I can't find it. I don't know where it went. So I got a Spider-Man shirt in the same colors.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's the same color shirt. So
one of my cosplays that I have done on month of Mayday.
Yeah.
So in 2019.
There you go.
There you go.
So
I did both special, lovely special.
Oh,
outfits.
We're gonna get to that other outfit.
We'll get to the other one a little bit.
So May is like, the funeral was a perfect opportunity. In the previous page, she's like, too bad I can't show up with causing a store, or can I? And does the whole.
Well. So, oh yeah. So now we're back to MJ catches May drinking milk out of the carton.
Right.
For breakfast, which bold move.
So MJ starts asking about, her sweet 16th birthday. You got any special plans? And, May's really not thought about it because obviously she's got a lot going on. So MJ's like, we'll do a big family dinner. We can celebrate with your friends later. And so, May's like, yeah, sounds like a plan. Count me in. So Peter is kind of looking off and going, I know that look. I know where she's at. Her the way the world's on the shoulders. And one of my favorite MJ bits where she's like, she suspects nothing. She has absolutely no idea that she's planning a surprise. We're planning a surprise party for her. I tell you, Tiger, you people are so lucky. I never became a super villain. Bwah, ha ha ha. I'm like, I just loved that. Is one of my all time favorite scenes in the entire series.
Okay, but I mean, like, we should be fair that she didn't become a supervillain.
This is
She would be
true.
very scary.
She would be terrifying. So meanwhile, you know, May goes by the hospital, but then eventually has to go to school. And so May's like, why is everybody, look so serious? And Courtney reveals that there's this chance that that Nancy may be suspended for this fight. So,
No.
and May, obviously, being defensive of Nancy was like she was clearly defending herself. So Brad's pass. Oh no, that wasn't Courtney. That was Brad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
So
Brad's gross.
Brad's the rumor monger, and so Jimmy, rightfully so, says that would expose the school to all sorts of lawsuits. We then, May again tries to spot Sandra, and Sandra has a shiner, and it's not good. And
Nope.
she says it's all May's fault. So Howard Kavanaugh is the best thing that ever happened to her. So we finally learned the name of her boyfriend, Howard. Howard really loves me.
The whole thing is that there's a conversation. You're kind of glossing over that conversation.
So let me. Yeah, well, I'll let you elaborate on it.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. No, sorry. But yeah, so basically May runs into Sandra. Sandra is clearly beaten up and says, "This is all your fault." And May is very confused because she hasn't said anything that Sandra told her, anybody. And, said, "Who did this?" And so Sandra is convinced that, May clearly talked because Howard told her that.
Yeah.
While he was beating her up. And this is how we finally find out that it's definitely Howard.
Right. It's definitely her boyfriend, Howard Kavanaugh, which is a reference to Howard Mackey and Terry Kavanaugh. That's where that name comes from.
Yeah. This wasn't this isn't like a Simpsons episode.
Right.
Or issue, or is it?
Right. So obviously, Sandra is completely in denial. She says that she still loves, or that Howard loves me, and she just storms off. May obviously is sort of distraught and shocked by the turn of events when Davita shows up and was like, "What's that all about?" And so she's trying to make amends with May, and it's just awkward because there's just a lot of tension and they just can't get past it. And so, Davita kind of is like, "I guess I'll be seeing you."
Yeah.
So then
Davita can't say she's sorry. That's also another flaw of hers.
Exactly. And so May decides to go to the drama department and look up some costumes. And her spider sense starts to go off. And she realizes it is the stalker. And so, sure enough.
Or a stalker.
A stalker, yeah. Excuse me. There's multiple stalkers going on
Apparently now, yeah.
So May throws the door open, grabs the person that's been tailing her, and it's sure enough, it's Howard Kavanaugh. And he is obviously enraged. I've been trying to corner you for a while, but you always manage to slip away. You make me sick, Parker. I want you to stop filling my girlfriend's head with your nonsense. Stay away from Sandra. Howard foolishly throws a punch. May catches her punch and says, "You've made two very big mistakes. Sandra never gave you up, and I am no one's punching bag." And big buff bad boy Howard, is like, "Don't make me hurt you. Don't make me lose my." No, I know.
He's just trash.
Yeah, he's trash, but I'm using that.
But also trash, yes.
So he's like, "You better let me go before I really lose my temper. Don't force me to." Ow! May straight up breaks his hand.
Well, maybe not broke his hand. We don't know. He just thinks it's broken. It just
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, she, squeezed his hand pretty hard with her spider strength, and he's not doing well. And she's like, get help. You, Sandra may keep her mouth shut, but I won't. You got 1 week to start dealing with your issues before I tell the whole school about you. You got off easy. This could have been your head. Get out of my sight.
Which
May just went complete boss level. Okay, she just took this ridiculous human being who is an obviously trash human being and put him in his place. This
well, I
boy
mean,
is
she doesn't have time for this crap. Like at
yeah,
all either. Like that's but the
yeah,
thing is that this really upsets her regardless. I mean, and he's straight up admitting to being an abusive boyfriend
yeah,
and threatening her, and she has no time for it. So because this is the thing is that and same thing goes with Peter a lot. When they're done, and they're going to end the fight. And
right,
that's kind of what she's doing here. She's even being gracious by giving him a chance to make it right himself before she does.
right. She's giving him far more opportunity than most would.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, we then cut to Woodland Cemetery in the Bronx. The undisputed kingpin of crimes funeral occurs. The and he's ruled for the last 10 years from his cell, and barely a dozen people attend the man's funeral. Meanwhile, there's Whedon and Kane. They're monitoring from a Williamson Landscaping Incorporated truck.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Al Williamson reference. And he's like, Whedon's like, hold on, the woman's approaching. We've scanned her face in the computer. She doesn't have a criminal record. Kane notices something familiar with her and says, oh no.
She wouldn't, but he's covering his mouth, and I think my head canon is he is trying to not laugh.
Yeah, he's
This
trying
looks
this. Oh, so we have to describe the look, or I can just.
actually. Do you want to? I don't know how long it would take you to go through my Instagram and find
Oh
that
God.
photo.
I'll
Just so
just put.
people can see it. People
Okay,
can
so
see it in
for those,
live action.
so
'Cause I think
those,
I did a good job here.
she did a great job. No, let me tell you. So this is the outfit,
Great.
and for those of you that are listening to the audio version, it is absolutely magnificent
Yeah.
for all the
So
wrong
so
reasons.
there is because the hat's here. So there is a a true fedora.
Yes, not a fake fedora.
No, well, because there's the Tripleys that people call fedoras, but they're
Right.
Tripleys. The true fedora. You have a lovely, looks like a fake red leather coat with a fur trim.
Yeah,
You
like
have a purple corset top, a black fake leather or vinyl skirt, and very, very high heels. And she has accessorized with some black gloves, a blonde wig, and really good, nice, round black sunglasses.
so obviously she starts to, she shows up. She sees Candace there, and she does see Fabian, aka Black Tarantula, for the first time. Her spider sense goes off when Mr. Nobody shows up, and wanting to crown the new successor. And May yells, everybody take cover, stay on the ground, I can handle this maniac. She breaks one of her heels doing this and
Wait,
uses
I think you skipped over something because I just got totally lost on where you are. I think you forgot. Okay, so yeah, so we see Fabian and then Mr. Nobody shows up
right.
in a range of fire.
Yeah, he starts firing.
He wants to start crowning the new kingpin.
Right. So if he crowns the new kingpin, guess what? He gets to be the key lackey for the new kingpin. So May yells to take cover. Sorry, I didn't make that clear, guys.
Well, I also think too. I think this is Mr. Nobody's play to be the kingpin. I don't think he's trying to be the lackey.
Oh, that's true. You're probably right.
In fact, this is because here's everybody that wants to be the new kingpin paying respects, and now they're all in one place that he can just shoot them up.
So May then goes after Mr. Nobody and
breaks her heel.
But
still lands like a badass.
Yes, crouches down like in a classic spidery pose, but also throws a spider tracer onto his as trench coat. So he starts to teleport away because obviously this has not gone according to plan. The FBI is there. Fabian's being arrested. May takes off, runs away, and then we cut back to the. I think it's a penthouse where Mr. Nobody's hiding out, and
Where yeah, it's a like a penthouse apartment.
yeah, a penthouse apartment
Yeah.
where Dark Devil is, of course, being continued to being tortured, and so um, he's about to deliver the final kill shot because Mayday decided to interfere with his plans, and just as he's about to pull the trigger, May crashes through in a full page, beautiful splash of May going through and says, "Are you ready for a gratuitous fight? Because I know I am." So May then begins to fight Mr. Nobody. And May is trying very hard not to get Dark Devil hurt in the crossfire. And Mr. Nobody's like even acknowledging that. So he's like, and he's still using his teleportation powers to regain his mass. But then May gets a kick on him, and sure enough, he starts to shoot at May. May dodges, causes the voltage meter to start to overload. May then grabs the wire, and just as Mr. Nobody teleports to where May's at and starts pointing the gun at her face, she uses the wire from the electrical unit to zap him, immobilizing his his suit, and knocking him out. So she calls Agent Whedon and explains the situation. It's related to your case, and she gets Dark Devil down. And Dark Devil, for the first time in a long time, I think, or really truly for the first time ever, gives May the full benefit of the doubt and says, "I never lost faith. I never despaired.
Okay.
I always knew you were the one that was going to come for me." So he just had to hang on. And so that is the end of the issue because May is going to make him pay. May is teed off the end for now.
Well,
Because May realizes
concluded.
to be
It
concluded.
doesn't
Yeah.
say the end for now.
Oh, does it not say? I thought it said. Okay.
Nope. Go back and look. It doesn't say.
Yeah.
It says to
Let
be
me double
concluded. Yeah.
Yes, to be concluded. I'm sorry. I thought
anytime
it was for now.
anytime it doesn't say our normal the end for now, I make note of it.
So there you go.
So
it is true.
But
so Kelly, your thoughts?
Yeah. So one thing I do want to say is I don't think because we've already established Dark Devil has a lot of faith in May. He really does trust her.
That's true.
And care about her. Because he knows that they're basically cousins / half siblings genetically.
Twins. Yeah.
They're not genetic twins. They're
genetic
siblings, like half siblings. Yeah. So anyway, but he knows that they're cousins, and so he's always taken this kind of like big brother protective role towards her to everyone else, and is very antagonizing and likes to poke the bear and really get a rile out of her and with them because he really wants her to do her best, and this is the way he feels is the best because he doesn't have great social skills like most Parkers.
And he also knows that he also understands better than probably anybody the legacy that May carries.
Yeah, and so there's a lot there. So like I never took it the way like you were saying, like, oh, this is the first time we ever did. It's like that's not really because I don't even think to her that meant that much to her in that time. She was just focused on him.
What I think I really meant on that was he shows a bit of affection towards her in the way he speaks to her. Now, obviously, he's very beat up and he's had a very, very long week.
Yeah.
But he's never spoken to her like that before. When if you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it that way. I mean, he was pretty nice about it with the suit when he gave her back the suit. Was uncharacteristically nice, but there was still that antagonizing nature. Here, he's Here, I think this is less the Dark Devil persona, and this is just Riley.
Yeah, this is
You
Riley
know,
talking. Pure
yes.
Riley talking.
So, but it in general, there's that. Obviously, I think too. I have to go back to the mall chic, Moll chic in her words.
Bold
Just
chic. Yes.
classic. High fashion, very very high fashion. Is amazing. I really enjoy the fact though that she breaks the heel, because that is very easy to do running the way she was running,
Yep.
and still never lost a beat. Just
Right.
flipped in the air, landed like a badass, and of course, yeah, this is the one where you see Sandra. We start to really get to the head of the Sandra Howard Kavanaugh stuff, and it's a very powerful scene. She's a very powerful protector here. And an you know, it's a very I think it's very important, even though it's not the main focus of the story. And so it can sometimes get thrown under the bus, or not under the bus, but it can be kind of thrown away. But
Right.
it's still very important and very powerful. But yeah, that's really all I have on this
So
this issue. We basically are being concluded, but now, yeah, there we go. There it is.
so for
That's what
those that
that
are
looks
wondering,
like, guys.
that this is what the outfit looked like. This is what Kelly's version of the outfit looked like.
Okay,
Side by
I
side.
found the cheapest possible things, because that's what would be in a high school drama department to do this, which
There
is
you
why it
go.
looks bad, but that's what it should look like, which is
A big,
why.
yeah, a big shout out
Yeah.
to Vinkman. He's the one that went on your Instagram and found it.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks, Vinkman. Yeah, for those of you that are watching or not watching us and you're listening to the version, you really got to check out this episode, because here at this point, because we have the visual aids
We
being
have a visual
used.
aid. You can find this on Instagram and on Reddit.
Yes.
So
And
I
I
mean, you
may
can
I
find
may
it.
save this
Okay.
and put it in the show notes if you're on the website. So go to spidey-dude.com, and on the show notes for the episode, it'll be in there. So yeah.
So it's so silly.
It is a silly outfit.
Silly outfit.
So
sorry, not silly. It's high fashion. It's very high fashion. It's very it's very chic and before its time.
Absolutely.
Still before its time.
Yes, it is. For the record, this is my first issue that I started collecting. So I have a lot of nostalgic feelings about this cover, about this book. I remember being just so excited that I was getting Spider-Girl again. I mean, obviously I got the first few issues, but I was going to a comic book store regularly, and they held this back for me, and I even, we'll get to the campaign stuff when we get around, probably after next episode, because that's right around the time that the Save Spider-Girl stuff started. But and we may talk about it next episode too. But yeah, so for me, this got a lot of nostalgic feelings. Great artwork, great story. Obviously, it was funny for me to open it up and have the Black Tarantula stuff, because for me, I really, that was one of my favorite elements of the Falco run and Amazing. So for him to bring that and incorporate it into Spider-Girl was really, really cool for me. Because I remember, the whole point of the story towards the end was Peter was trying to protect Fabian from becoming the Black Tarantula. And MJ was friends with Fabian's mom in the comics too. So, and was going to school with MJ at the time. So, yeah, for me, great issue. The funeral scene. The outfit's bonkers, but it's the right kind of bonkers. It fits the tone and tenor of the story. I like the.
She's also 15, and she literally was looking through the drama department.
Right, exactly. And for me, the way that I like the scenes with MJ. I talked about how I love that scene with MJ, maniacally laughing to herself. But also, I just love how Peter and May's relationship wasn't here. It's a really, really good scene. This is where I really like Peter and their relationship and how it certainly grows. It's certainly my perspective now on these issues is different because as a dad, but yeah, great issue. Love it. You got any final thoughts on it there, Kelly?
Honestly, like I said, my major thoughts are just it's a great well-rounded issue. It brings everything to a head. Now we're going to deal with the epilogue and kind of the tying the story up here in issue 66.
So here we go.
But yeah, which it is titled "If This Be Victory."
This be my destiny. This be victory. So, all right. This particular issue is cover dated for January 2003. Let me get the exact date. I had it pulled up a minute ago, but oh, it's because I was using the Funko Pop window. That
It's
was
okay.
the window I had that open. Come on. Okay. Well, I'll find. Anyway, I'll get the exact
Yeah.
date in a second. But all right. So our issue 66, opens with the interrogation of, or the attempted interrogation of Mr. Nobody. May is obviously came up to talk with Whedon. Whedon says you shouldn't have wasted your time. Nobody really knows what his identity looks like. This guy has plastic surgeons on speed dial. He has a number of fingerprints and stuff like that, and they're all in the name of John Doe. So, um, and May asks about the tarantula, and he's not very happy about it. But they had to release him because they had nothing to charge him with other than being at the Kingpin of Crime's funeral. So basically, Whedon's like, just get out, leave, shoves her out the door, but not before Brenda gives her a hug and says, "Thank you for all you've done. You've already done more than enough. And thank you for capturing the man that shot Normie." So May then takes off and she arrives at school and she gets to blow out a cupcake. It is her birthday. May actually forgot that it was her sweet 16th birthday, and the friends are kind of giving her a little grief because they say her priorities are out of whack. And, Moose is trying to get Brad to ask her out. Even Jimmy's getting in on this. And so Brad's trying to, say, hey, let's go out and do something later. But, May lets her know that, hey, I've got a really quiet dinner with my family planned. So I'll have to do something later. And of course, Courtney and Moose are going back and forth saying somebody doesn't know about her surprise birthday party. And
I mean, that's the point of a surprise party, Moose.
exactly. So May is walking down the hall when she sees Sandra, and she's like, apparently Sandra has been looking all over for May. She is hot. She is heated. And she has convinced Sandra that May attacked him for no reason. And May is trying to explain herself, saying that she was only defending herself. And he's already manipulated her into thinking that May is lying. And so she's calling her the real monster, and that Howard is not the monster. He loves me. You're the real monster. And that's how that scene particularly ends. Meanwhile, back at the Parker household, we have Peter using his wall crawling abilities to hang up the birthday banner. And so things are really coming along. And, MJ is really excited. And Peter's really excited for May because, Peter understands she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders. And so, it'll be good for her to have a bit of a release. And so May then bumps into JJ, where they start talking about Nancy, of course. And, of course, according to the rumor bill, she's going to be suspended. And so May is obviously taking Nancy's side because she was merely defending herself.
Yeah.
And so, of course, JJ feels like that Nancy's being blackballed and railroaded. And, but he does stop to wish her a happy birthday. And so May then heads over to the coach's office where Coach Thompson is super conflicted. And May is trying to explain, look, Nancy was defending herself. I saw the whole thing. And you know, Flash kind of breaks it down and says, bottom line, somebody ended up with a lump on her head, and it wasn't Nancy. And so there's people that are going to, the parents are threatening to sue the school. And, you know, uh, Coach Thompson talks is like, hey, they're talking about suspending me for even playing her, and we may have to forfeit the season. And Flash is torn up about it because he knows how hard they've worked to get to this point. And of course, May is looking down, and says, obviously, she's feeling incredibly conflicted right now. And so, Courtney, who is trying to get Davita and May to make up, May see, Courtney's like, you've not found a better opportunity. And, Davita's trying to patch things up and say, hey, we can go back to the way things used to be. But then May tearfully says that that's not possible because after a long conversation with Coach Thompson, she quit the basketball team today.
Mhm.
And so, obviously, this has caused May to spend the rest of her day in a daze. And she starts swinging off. And so she searches for her cell phone and makes a phone call. Who does she meet? Candace again at the usual spot.
Well, that's not their usual spot. They've met at other places.
Yeah, they met at other places, but they
This,
met.
this is kind of his spot.
This is kind of his favorite spot.
Yeah.
And so May has started to finally put things together and realize that Candace was behind the whole thing the entire time. And so Candace is like, look, you want to punch me? Punch me. I'll have you arrested for assault, you vigilante. And so Candace thinks he's got the last laugh, but May is onto him. And so he calls Whedon. Turns out Black Tarantula has completely beat the snot out of Whedon's team. It's almost single-handedly. And May is kind of confused when she realizes that, oh, wait, his next target is in fact Candace. So of course we have this confrontation between Candace and the Black Tarantula. Candace thinks that he can just take him on. Dude, trust me, this is not gonna end well for you. So there's a brief fight, and Black Tarantula shoots him with his laser beam eyes straight in the chest, thinks he's, he can barely breathe, broke a couple of ribs, and he's about to like forcefully deliver his death when suddenly May shows up and says, look, despite all this guy has done, I can't let you kill him. And Tarantula just cannot understand why May is protecting a slime ball like Candace. And so, May's like, look, I will find a way. And then Tarantula starts to realize that this is the same woman who may have saved his life at Kingpin's funeral. And so May thinks that, she's in a no-win situation. She can't let him kill him, but she can let him get away. This infuriates Agent Whedon. He is very, very upset. He is not happy about this situation. He's not happy that he let her escape. And so Candace thinks that he's won because, if the Kingpin can run his empire from prison, why can't I? And so he's like, I'm the new Kingpin of crime. And May kind of sarcastic says, ooh, long live the king. And so that leads to our final scene of the issue.
That's not final.
Or no, excuse me. I'm sorry. Next to final scene of the issue. So May goes to the Midtown Medical Center to go visit Normie when she sees Normie kissing Brenda, and May kind of slithers off and walks away.
Now, Brenda was probably in the hospital because of Black Tarantula in the first place, and it's probably the only reason why Brenda can see.
I never put that together. Until you said
because, like,
that.
I mean, Kane is holding her.
That's right.
Because, like, there.
Yeah. If you look at the background, Kane is like physically holding her, so it was not a good.
This is probably the only reason she was able to visit him in the first place. She didn't get her visiting rights back necessarily.
Yeah, so that's a very important distinction because I think it's going to end up coming back later. And she's got I think she's got her arms in a cast too. So like he broke her arm, and so we then cut to the birthday party Um, and there's two people, two minor
Oh, sorry.
details.
I interrupted you though, but like that last scene because there's no words spoken, and
Right.
it's just really beautiful. Well, sadly beautiful, where
Very poignant.
May sees them having their moment, and so she decides she's not going to check in on Normie, even though this is her birthday and she wants to see her friend.
Right.
So she walks away, and she's very lost in thought and kind of feels a little dejected, but
Yeah.
is doing the right thing for her friend and for someone she cares about, is letting him have that time.
Right. And so we got to the birthday party. It's a raucous party because, of course, MJ threw it. And Peter's, remarking to her the big success, but there's two minor details. One, Davita couldn't make it. And two, the guest of honor's not there. So May is walking home when she bumps into Sandra. And Sandra's just sitting there staring off, kind of off in the distance, but then May realizes that she's at the front of St. Andrews, the the shelter for abused women. And so, you know, Sandra reveals that she's been standing out there ever since school got out, and she's just really having a hard time taking the steps forward to go into the facility. And Sandra does apologize to Mayday for how she's been acting, and she wasn't really ready to admit the truth to herself. And so, May's on her birthday makes a decision because Sandra isn't sure she can do this. And so May decides that for her birthday that she would stand beside her until she had the strength and courage to walk in.
Well,
Because
too, and
there's no other place that she'd rather be tonight.
Well, she had no real plans. But too, Sandra doesn't know that. I don't think Sandra knows that it's her birthday.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that from Mayday's perspective.
Yeah.
That, you know what? Even though it's my birthday, there are bigger things and there are bigger issues that you gotta, sometimes you gotta put your own pride aside, put your own whatever's going on with yourself aside, and take the time to help a friend. And so it's a very poignant end to the arc. And with that, Kelly, the floor is yours.
Yes. Also, too, definitely does say the end for now.
It does say the end for now. Yeah, because I got the digest right here, and it does say that. So
yeah. So
the end for now.
Obviously, this is a great conclusion to this story. I do want to have a little bit of a thing about the fact that here in 982, May's birthday clearly comes after Christmas and New Year's. It looks more kind of like it might be fall, more into spring, not fall, but more into spring, which is a little bit different than the 616, since we know that baby May was born on Halloween.
Yes.
So it's again just slightly differences in this world that we should probably more than likely honor as canon.
Yes.
Versus trying to jam this into 616 land, because it doesn't always work that way, which that's the beauty of the multiverse. Not everything has to always fit that one timeline.
Is this she has another birthday, doesn't she?
She has a special day. It's her day. That's the day
that's
the day, if I'm not mistaken, we've kind of assumed is when she where Kane had given her back, but we don't discuss that until later. Yeah. It's never called a gotcha day. It's her special day. And that's the 10th anniversary issue. And amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, I really love this issue and the fact of May doesn't, she doesn't really win anything here. She doesn't get her day. Kind of deal.
It is the worst birthday in the history of birthdays, really, when you think about it.
Well, but the thing is that doesn't. And what I was going to say though is that it doesn't matter to May. May cares about her friends. She cares about doing the right thing, and even though there is a personal sacrifice,
right,
personal inconvenience, rather. Although I don't even think it inconveniences her, because this is just what she knows to do. It kind of shows you that, sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there for someone. And And so in the case of Sandra, that's what she's doing, and therefore misses her her 16th birthday party. And
That she didn't know about, for the record.
she didn't know about, but I
Yeah.
don't think she was really paying attention either to what was going on behind her,
Right.
because she had, or everything was going on. I did want to bring up the whole Canis and Black Tarantula fight, because there's a lot of things that were being said in there that really showed different ideologies
Right.
that you kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
But they were,
yeah.
it's a really cool fight between villains to kind of see, because it's definitely almost like a slightly old way and new way, because Canis's whole deal was to just be the new kingpin, and it's almost very Wilson Fisk-esque on the fact of like he wants that power.
Yeah.
Where Fabian has a different reason. Like Fabian kind of knows he has the power. He just wants to give his birthright of ruling, sort of, so to speak. So it's a very different mindset on how they fight.
It's like because of how
Fabian has honor too. That's
Fabian,
his whole thing's honor.
Yeah, he has a code of honor that he follows, and because he has been raised essentially to be told, you are the ruler of the underworld. I don't care. We don't care what, we have respect for traditions, and Wilson is the tradition, but Canis is just a power mad hungry guy. Like he just wants like you say, the power, whereas Fabian just honor, tradition, respect, and in Fabian's eyes, Canis is just a disrespectful little twerp.
Well, and he's a stepping stone to his, what he feels he
Yeah.
has to have, because that's what his father has told him he has to continue.
Yeah. His father and his grandfather.
Like I said, it's a birthright situation versus, with men like Canis and Fisk, you work your way up, you do whatever you can. There is no honor among thieves kind of deal.
It's every man for himself.
Yeah.
And whereas it's very much like a commoner's way of looking at it and a person of royalty looking at it in terms of the underworld, because a commoner would say, I'm just going to take whatever I can get. And you scrounge, and you scrap, and you fight, and that's what Wilson did.
Well, and it's a lot of what Canis says throughout his time in the series.
Exactly. And whereas there's a bit of like underworld nobility with the Black Tarantula in terms of the mindset, and that's where that becomes, obviously it'll become a big thing throughout the end of this volume.
Yeah.
And into Amazing too, but it's a very, you're right, there's a big dichotomy between the two sides.
It's a really cool fight. So I think, since you glossed over it and I didn't write it all down, I would say everyone go back and read issue 66. It is on Marvel Unlimited, along with, you can buy it on Comixology and the Marvel app, and
and you can go pick the individual issues up at your local comic shop. Apparently
wow, Zach, well, bye. I don't know what he was gonna say, guys, sorry. But to continue,
I don't know what happened. Like,
what did you do? I was like, wait, all right, what do I do now?
I literally clicked a button on my mouse and it literally kicked me completely out. I don't know why.
Okay, well, stop clicking things. So aw, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mr. Friends. How are you?
Hi.
Also, DeFalco can't count.
I mean, neither can we, so it's okay. He's in good company.
I meant January 2004. Thank you, Vinkman. That was my bad.
No, it's okay. All right, so I was gonna go on to our emails, voicemails, and reviews. I have not seen any emails, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
We did have a voicemail, and I want to be the one to say it. I'll be the bad guy here. There was some personal information in the voicemail that we could not get out, so we are not going to play it. We are very sorry, but what I wanted to offer, and we can privately message this guy, is I desperately want to do like a fan like roundtable where we discuss the different projects that we have been inspired to do thanks to Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
So I would be happy to invite that person on, because that's what the voicemail was about
Right.
his fan fiction,
Yeah.
fan comic that he had created.
And a character he created. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would be more than happy to have that conversation at a later date, and maybe work something out. I still want Feline Phoenix on, and that's mostly the fangirl, because she was my favorite fan. Well, her and Jafreak from the Batman Beyond
Right. Yeah.
were my favorite fan fiction authors. So I would be super happy to pick her brain as well, like maybe find some time to get Frogoat and different stuff like that on
Yeah.
at some point.
In the history of Spidey Dude, there was a time around this time is when I started taking over the site, more or less full time. And that was back when I was first getting with Crawl Space too, around this time too. So it was like I was doing a lot of fan fiction writing. I have not written a thing in probably a decade, but yeah, no, it'd be
I'm
really.
not telling anyone my user handle. You're not. No one is finding what I wrote at 13 years old. You can't make me.
Dude, I wrote. I mean, I was writing fanfic for all the way up through 2011, I think. Yeah, because when I was doing Crawl Space Avengers with Gerard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so
I stopped around 14 or 15 just because people were finding it and then reading it and then bringing it to school and letting other. Yeah, no, I was embarrassed.
Right.
And I didn't even write anything bad either. Like what was it? I think that the piece that they brought around was like I had some weird song fic, because my thing was like the song fic stuff, like thinking of like how the music relates to stuff, and I was doing like really deep set Batman Beyond thought pieces about Bruce, thinking about his time, but like it was still a 13-year-old girl writing this, so like it's not good, guys.
No. Listen, I went back and
but
read.
Like I thought I was really deep there, like but ignore all of that. It never happened. Past life, and you're never finding it.
Right.
So
the only place, yeah, unfortunately, like all my archives are on the message board of the Crawl Space, so like you can go find it if you want. Please don't judge me, because I was like you, I was like 13, 14, 15 when I was writing those things. But yeah, so no, but it'd be fun to talk about, because like I'm always interested to hear the perspective of somebody that likes to write, or wants to get into comics or something like that. One of my good friends from the Crawl Space, Kevin, was at one time wanted to be an aspiring comic book writer, and I had a lot of respect for him, and how he viewed the medium, and how he would view reviewing things. He always had that perspective of trying to get in the writer's head as well as the character's head. So it's always fun.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, and that was something Jafreak actually would mention on her website, because she actually created like a GeoCities website about different, like you could put in like your OC so other people could use it, and have your own little like that own little like special universe there. That's what I'm saying. A lot of parts from her universe wound up in that latest run of Batman Beyond on DC Comics, and you can't tell me that they didn't bleed into each other because of that. But
no, I don't disagree.
She had a lot of like writing tips and writing help and what to do and how to write a good fan fiction that I tried to follow. But again, cringe all of it's cringeworthy. But in general,
yeah,
I think that's it. Do we have any new reviews?
We haven't got any recent reviews on like Apple Podcasts or anything like that, because I have it set up to where I get alerts if anything comes through, and I just haven't seen anything. And I checked the other day, and we hadn't got anything. But you can also on Apple Podcasts. Speaking of, you can subscribe to the channel. We have a Spidey Radio Network channel where all of our shows are there, including Make My Mayday and Spidey Dude Experience. So all of the legacy shows like Clone Saga Chronicles and Spectacular Radio and these shows are all there. And so you can find them all on the Spidey Dude Radio Network channel on Apple Podcasts now. So check that out. Leave us a review. We will read your reviews and we will read your emails on the show. Next time we get together for recording. We don't have an exact date, I don't think, hammered out yet, but we will definitely, just like I said, we said earlier with our crazy schedules. Just follow us on our social medias. You can follow Kelly at Make Mine Mayday.
Well, hold on before we end the show.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought
we have previews. See, you're not following. Like,
where's the preview? Wait.
Preview for next episode. I didn't write anything. I said I was going to find something catchy, and I was like, I did not do that. But next.
Yeah, what are we covering next episode?
We're going through Spider-Girl issues 67 through 70. So there's Monsters, The Call, and The Truth, part 1 and part 2. So get ready for those episodes. I'm excited because I know what they're about, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but it's definitely going to be. It's not as high stakes as Marked for Death. So we kind of get back into more of the normal Spider-Girl stuff, but it definitely starts seeping into our next big story with her.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's going to be really a lot of fun. These issues definitely take me back now. We're at the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember going to the comic shop and getting this and being so excited and talking about it on the Spider-Girl message board. And we're getting to that point. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm sure I'll bring that up in my notes and stuff. And so I'm looking forward to it. I say, we will. Big reminder, be sure to follow us on the social medias. Follow Kelly at Make Mine Mayday. Follow me at Spidey Dude Radio on Twitter. You can find the YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe. You can find that at youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network. Of course, you can always go to spidey-dude.com for reviews, news, articles, and the episodes themselves, the audio versions. But be sure to also follow our Patreon page at patreon.com/Spidey Dude Network. You'll find some exclusive goodies there. You'll have some exclusive shows coming later on this fall, and you'll have stuff like Voices from the Eerie. The first episode is up on the for the patrons at patreon.com. So thanks again to those guys, Greg, Jurgen, Scott, and Vinkman. Thank you guys for your support.
Thank you guys.
Again. We really do appreciate it. It does really help offset the costs of doing these shows and bringing you these great programs. So on behalf of Kelly and myself, we will see you guys next time.
I'm going to go drink milk out of a carton.
Yeah, if I did that, my roommates would be very upset with me, and I probably shouldn't.
I have a mini fridge,
so you go to your mini fridge, get you a glass, a big old gulp of milk from the carton, and we will see you guys next episode.
Bye, guys.
Make My Mayday.